go, Chatty.
Left, right, and center. Hollywood's
loud.
been burying
No, it's
movies
not.
for creative accounting reasons forever. Game studios are shutting down servers for
Oh my god, it's all the
always
green
online
screen.
games.
I should do green screen like this too. I should do green screen in the same way, you know, like where you're like they put your body like right here in the middle of movie scenes. I should steal this. That's
Forever.
piracy.
Game
No, that's
studios are
plagiarism.
shutting down servers
Programmer,
for
thank you for the 10
always
months.
online games that really didn't need to be online in the first place. In an era where companies can sweep away any piece of media
true.
that they deem unprofitable or irrelevant,
This is a real
there's
problem,
a moral
too.
argument to piracy as a form of accessibility and preservation. There is no better
Very
example to
true.
encapsulate this than this project by the completionists, spending over $20,000
Thanks.
to legally obtain every game across the 3DS and Wii U eShops before they close down in
They're scared. Nah, y'all should be scared. Y'all should be scared. Nintendo's gonna send people. Nintendo's gonna kill you. You gotta, nah. Y'all need to, you better have like the strongest VPN, like 50 layers or some shit.
March of 2023. But Josh, they actually bought the game, so it's not piracy, you dumb f. Shut the fuck up. You see how that's insane, right? While there's a ton of 3DS and Wii U ROMs available for your seafaring needs all over the internet,
That's a good
there's
song.
no singular archive that contains every published title. For good reason. Nintendo has a reputation for being particularly litigious when it comes to people infringing on their copyright. So very few people are
They're such babies about it too. They're such fucking babies, dude. Oh my god. Watching this while pirating. In case my IP sees this, it's a joke. No, it's okay. It's okay. I mean, you know, why would your IP even see that? It's not like they have eyes and ears everywhere and they can easily track all of your searching history and tell what you've been up to and like identify all of your downloads. And it's not like they would ever send you an email to tell you to stop being a naughty little person who's downloading things illegally. That would never happen. That would be a huge invasion of your privacy. Programmer, thank you for the 10 months. I appreciate it.
willing to take on the risk of archiving so many titles under one roof. By going through the official route, the completionist team took the legally safe path to archiving over 2,300 games. Most of the games on the eShop never saw a physical release, so if you want to buy a
What the
copy
fuck?
officially today, you can't. Look at this Letterboxd review. I know it's funny and it's absurd.
Does Nintendo hate money or something? Because it's really weird. I still don't understand the need or the necessity to get rid of the Nintendo 3DS eShop.
But bear with me when I say it's representative of a real problem. Brother got a VPN, paid a random dude in India.
Whoa! Why is that
representative
symbol
of
a fucking
real
dick?
problem. Brother got a VPN.
Hold on. Oh my god. Get it? Sponsor me TM. That's penis. Get it? Because they're making fun of the VPN stuff. Get it? Because... Oh my god. It's a middle finger. That's a dick. That's not a
Paid
middle
random
finger.
dude in India to get him a local phone number, then made an Indian Disney Plus account to watch this movie legitimately. He's more dedicated
Which
to
is
this than
crazy, by the
my
way.
ex-wife. I'm not married. I've never been married. All this effort, and you know what? Circumventing all
Chatty, have you as a guy ever worn a V-neck this deep? I feel violated, like, looking at this guy. Like, I feel like I'm being Let me do a hydration. You know what? Maybe we shouldn't react to flesh males on stream. Too deep? It's like, bro, I can see your chest hair, and it's weird.
those regional licensing restrictions isn't really legal. And in the end, it puts a few bucks in the mouse's pocket with next to nothing going to the creatives
The evil
behind
mouse.
it. Want to play Cyberpunk in Indonesia? I hope you're a quintillionaire because that'll be 700,000 rupiah. Want to play Hotline Miami?
Which is crazy. Wait. Oh, Nintendo doesn't do regional pricing. Eddie Artigas, welcome. We dress like this in Miami? Oh, you mean like in the bunnies? Oh, no. Okay, so you mean the really deep V-neck? I'm never fucking going to Miami, thank you.
Here in Australia. Fuck off, you can't because there's a sexual assault scene in there, despite plenty of other media being published with similarly graphic content. I'm not gonna...
There are literally on Nintendo Switch store right now, there are slop games that just have the word hentai in it, and no, there's not actually hentai, but like they literally have the word fucking hentai in the title. Like, Nintendo, What the hell are you guys even doing?
Argue for or against this scene in Hotline Miami 2, but the devs have openly recommended pirating the game to fans in Australia. In all of these examples, I would argue that piracy
Holy
is not theft,
base.
regardless of if it's because the price is exorbitant, like in Indonesia or Brazil, or licensing and distribution limitations, or government censorship,
$200
like
for a
here in
game, by the way.
Australia, or the fact that the devs literally said to. The reality is that the consumer in this sort of situation was simply never going to be able to make the purchase if they...
So wait, this is totally off topic, but because I saw the Brazil bow going around, I saw that art, and I saw it got like fucking, what was it, like 60,000 likes? It reminded me of the Brazilian Miku thing, and I just started thinking about how like Brazilians hold a lot of power within them, a lot of viral potential. But am I willing to become Brazilian Lucy for clout on the internet? No. I can't. No, I mustn't. No, I mustn't. I must not. I can't. No.
They never had access to that choice. We'll return to this idea later, but let's talk about preservation. Historical archives in the post-industrial age are a tricky task.
Is it Path and Honkai Star Rail?
Archival work has always been difficult, but there's specific issues when it comes to working with media published on tape, discs, and cartridges.
True!
With tape-based media,
Pokemon my ass, damn, I never played that one.
The actual content is stored in a magnetized coating that's on a plastic tape. To read the media off the tape, you do some funky math and magic with magnets and get an audio-visual signal out.
Fucking magnets, how do they
But that repeated exposure to magnetic fields deteriorates the magnetic film that contains my favorite episode of Around the Twists, and we can't have that. Also, it's the ice cream slavery one.
Ew! Ew! What the fuck? Dude, that was some guy's fucking fetish. That was some dude's fetish on there. Oh, that was clear fetish content.
Then get a brand new VHS tape and never actually play it. Two issues with that. One, good luck finding an unopened VHS tape even just a few years after publication, let alone decades down the line. And two, they'll deteriorate regardless. The magnetic film can oxidize when exposed to moisture. Even in controlled environments, the plastic tape itself is at risk of decaying. That's why it's important to transfer such media to a less volatile medium, like DVDs. What's that? DVDs and Blu-rays are
honestly an underreaction in my opinion.
They have a similar real-world lifespan to
oh my
VHS
god!
tapes. Okay.
I didn't even know disc rot was a thing. That's like STDs for your disc.
Let's copy them over to a hard drive. Hard drives have an even shorter lifespan. Okay. Flash storage, solid state. Better than hard drives, but you still have transistor decay and charge leakage. Okay, what about archival specific formats like LTO cassettes? 30 years, controlled environment, you have to keep checking it.
Wait, Chatty, should I be backing up my files on my computer? Me, when I purposely try to freak everybody out?
Because it's still a magnetic tape and it might decay.
Yeah?
Okay, well,
definitely.
How long will it take me to
that's
carve
crazy.
every single Garfield strip into stone tablets? How many punch cards would it take to run Doom? The best option we have so far are reels of film that typically last 50 to 70 years, but still
Damn, we gotta go back to that method then.
Controlled environment to be stored in. Now, what if I told you that all that chatter about storage formats doesn't actually fucking matter? Because it doesn't. Copy Avengers Endgame to a VHS tape. Nobody's gonna stop you, not even Disney, just the passage of time. The key with archiving is parity. Great example, we've got the original film reels for the 1939 Wizard of Oz somewhere in MGM's hands, but there's also multiple other reels stored in various different locations, as well as digital scans of those reels, and then digital masters that have gone out to consumers. If one Hollywood studio mysteriously burns down, then there's still other copies of the film stored all over the place.
You wanna know something that's like mega lost fucking media? Plays and like productions. Those things are really hard to watch unless you're literally there at the time that it happens. And it kinda sucks. Have you ever wanted to watch something but its only like existence is in the form of a play? it's fucking impossible. It sucks. It's so sad. And I get kind of why it happens, because if it was all available online, they might not be able to continue the fucking play industry. But still, I want to see it. Just buy the script. Do you fucking hear yourself? Plays are not meant to be read. They are meant to be watched. That's like saying watch the fucking movie script for Matrix. Am I gonna have the same experience reading the script as I would watching the movie? It was designed to be a visual medium.
We might lose the original, but there's enough copies out there that the movie itself will continue to exist in one way or another. Obviously, we can't do this with every single piece of media, right? Well, that's where piracy comes in. Sort of. Forgive me for sounding like a pie-in-the-sky crypto bro, but we have to decentralize all of our archiving if anything is going to last. For those of you unfamiliar, piracy websites aren't using their servers to store that copy of Joker 2 Electric Boogaloo that you've got downloading in the background right now. They're just putting you in the group chat with everyone else that has a copy, if that makes sense. Peer-to-peer networks operate by connecting you with seeders.
Guys, I'm a genius because I know this.
That file for other people to access. If this particular target
My IQ 500
Larry in the land of the lounge lizards has
lounge
say,
lizards,
seeders, that's 100 different users sharing their copy of those files for anyone to access.
Please don't use Pirate Bay in the Lord 20-25 years.
Even after the original floppy disks have decayed far too much to be readable. Despite the very idyllic concept of a communal torrenting archive system, there's some obvious flaws. If nobody wants a copy of my super awesome Star Wars fan film, I'm the only one hosting it. And if I'm the only one hosting it, and
which is a shame, everyone should be able to see that, obviously.
For example, or my hard drive dies, whichever comes first, then that's the end of the story, it's gone. Relying on the enthusiasm of strangers on the internet to offer up some storage space for the greater good of preservation is a hard sell, especially when you start getting into the copyright shenanigans that come with redistributing material.
But copyright law is not in the favor of the people who want to actually enjoy the fucking thing that's being copywritten. It's just to help the person who has it make money off of it repeatedly. It's like it literally only exists to create money for the person who owns it.
You don't own. The Internet Archive is a non-profit that offers an extensive collection of works, including 44 million pieces of literature and 800 billion web pages, 212 petabytes of information across 4 data centers. And
Jesus,
then it was
how many is a
DDoSed
petabyte,
so hard,
Chatty?
the site was offline for a month, and it was unclear if we would ever get access again to the largest archive ever created. A modern burning of Alexandria, if you will.
Wayback Machine has helped me so many times.
And books were all fine, so not really that similar. Anyway, a big chunk of what's stored on the Internet Archive
Jesus
isn't
Christ.
available anywhere else, and there's a heavy reliance on the
Which one is
community's
it?
interest in archiving media. Be it some random Tumblr post or an old news article that's since been taken down, the Wayback Machine relies on users voluntarily archiving web pages while they're still online. Other organizations, like the Video Game History Foundation, are in a similar boat in terms of relying on community enthusiasm around preservation. But publishers aren't always on board with the idea of the greater good. During the pandemic, when most physical libraries were shuttered, the Internet Archive launched the National Emergency Library Program, stirred by academics, students, and librarians requesting help.
One of the absolute most insane and just like vicious things about this shit is textbooks. The sheer cost of textbooks in university is absolutely insane. It's beyond a scam. It's just pure fucking bullshit. It's like $200 for one textbook that you might reference a couple of times throughout the fucking semester. And I say this as somebody who had a full ride, so I had people who like would take care of the purchases that had to be done. And it was still so much money, and I know for a fact that we barely use those fucking textbooks. It's a huge waste, and it's awful. There are ways to find textbooks so that you don't have to pay for them. There are ways that exist. I don't think that like the college textbook grift should even exist.
To access resources that were now out of reach
Lobster
because
Rave,
libraries were
welcome.
shut everywhere. The NEL temporarily altered the way that the Internet Archive lends out digital books. Their traditional policy is much like an actual library, with only
Call of
one user being
Cthulhu!
able to borrow
I should read
book
that. I should read
or
that.
scan of a book at any given time. Under the NEL, this restriction was lifted to help fulfill the demand of all the students and academics stuck at home, meaning that any number of users could get a copy of the book at the same time. Publishers immediately called this piracy and got together to collectively sue the Internet
Give us
Archive.
money!
The Archive's defense was that the NEL was still complying with fair use law, arguing that the program was for the sake of education and not for profit. Even after multiple appeals, the court ruled in favor of the publishers, resulting in thousands of items being removed from the archive. If the publishers themselves don't care to preserve their works for the sake of society, why should we? Why should you, dear viewer, give a shit about preserving FIFA 2015 or that Twilight fanfiction that an Indonesian
Because I like it. Because I like it. Although, there is so much shit in the world that the effort to preserve literally all of it, even if you disregard all law, is basically impossible. But I should be able to keep the things that I like and that I literally fucking bought!
14-year-old wrote trying to scrounge up some cash to buy a
Hydration.
copy of
Also,
Cyberpunk. It's
yeah,
hard
reading.
to sell people on the idea that all media should be preserved. There's just so much out there that a good chunk of it has to be crap, right? Have some
It doesn't
principles, damn
matter.
it.
It's my crap.
Do
It's my
I
slop.
personally care that every episode of Gossip Girl is archived for future generations to educate themselves with.
Maybe you should.
No, not particularly. But it's the principle of it. Any piece of media that has influenced even one life is deserving of preservation. In my opinion, it is morally correct to archive any piece of media we can document, because even the smallest things shape who we are on both an individual and societal level.
Do you think
And
this is true, Chatty?
sometimes good archiving means
Oh, I think that's a huge statement. I think that's a huge statement to make. There are things that exist that I don't believe should be documented because it's a violation of a person's human rights to do it. Do you know what I mean? Like, there are illegal things out there. I'm not talking about piracy, but I'm talking about private things, violative things out there that I don't think deserve to be preserved. So I think his statement there is a little bit too broad for me.
a little bit of piracy. Video games are uniquely difficult to preserve because of all the moving parts involved, often with some core components stored halfway across the world. The Crew was an online-only racing game published by
Online
Ubisoft,
only.
and if you know Ubisoft, you can imagine where this is going. Published in 2014, the game required an internet connection to play because of the persistent open world that was hosted on Ubisoft servers. The game client itself contains all the assets required to
Oh,
play the
I
game.
remember
The
this.
environment, the cars, the sound effects, all of that are on your device. And you could experience the entirety of the game in single player. But even still, you had to connect online. And then in 2024, Ubisoft shut their servers down for the game, essentially
Fucking
killing it on the
crazy.
spot. Not only did players lose access to the game that they had purchased, but the DLC and microtransactions as well.
What?
Even if you had a physical disc to put in your Xbox or PlayStation, you just couldn't. The backlash, which was massive, did prompt Ubisoft into adding an offline mode to the game's 2 sequels, but the original remains
What the fuck?
officially unplayable.
I read a
The Crew isn't the only game that's been doomed to this fate. Titles like Kill
I
the
didn't know
Justice
about the
League also
DLC
received
shit.
backlash for requiring an always online connection for solo play. An offline mode was added just 3 weeks before the servers were shut down, all in less than a year since the game released. You could go to the shops
Horrible.
right now and buy a copy of the game and never be able to access the complete experience. What about live service games like Destiny? While it is focused on the multiplayer element in the post-game, like raids and PvP, there's a substantial story campaign that would be completely inaccessible if the servers were shut.
I feel like games should have offline modes when they're MMOs. Like, for example, in Final Fantasy XIV, I do think there should be like an offline mode where you could play through the story, like with trusts and shit, but not with other players being in it. especially because you have to buy, like, and especially in Final Fantasy 14, you're not paying just for the subscription. You have to buy every single update separately. So I really think that they don't even have a leg to stand on for not having an offline mode.
Down. At the time this video goes up, the original 2013 game is still online and still playable, but who knows how long that'll last. You could argue that the narrative of the games have
Some
been
people would abuse the
preserved
system or cheat and then come with all the good loot for online. Couldn't you just fix that by making things that were achieved offline not available to be sold online?
through the countless playthroughs that are uploaded all over the internet. But that's missing a key part of the video game experience, playing it. A video recording of someone else playing Destiny doesn't let you make the choices to build your class, to find out what weapons you really
This video is
enjoy
pure
playing
copium
with.
and address the problem with the wrong angle? Do you care to elaborate on that statement? Exactly what you mean by being copium and addressing the problem from the wrong angle? I am struggling to understand myself.
That degree of agency is something that makes video game preservation kind of difficult in comparison
No,
to
he's
other
wrong for a
mediums.
vague reason.
A poorly scanned copy of a book is
Many
still
such
functional as
cases.
a piece of literature, even if there's some lines you can't read. In the same way that a well-worn vinyl can still play through an entire album.
I love
However,
how
the
vinyl
Destiny 2
records sound.
client isn't a complete archive. When the day comes that Bungie shuts down the servers, everyone's install of the game becomes a digital paperweight. At least the data still exists. Someone could, hypothetically, find a way to run it offline, like the community around the crew did. Players have been running third-party World of Warcraft servers for ages, despite the fact that it's very much copyright infringement and Blizzard's not
Blizzard has gone after these people? That's fucking crazy.
cool about it, but anyway. There are solutions out there for people that want to keep playing the game that they not only purchased, but also invested time and sometimes money into. But what do we do
Sometimes
when the
money.
data was never stored on your device in the
Only people who have been through, like, playing a gacha game and the gacha game going EOS after you've put money into it really understand how it feels to have games, like, fucking taken away from them after they invested in it. Oh, yeah, his face is pretty funny right now. I did a good pause, chatty. Does anyone want to caption... Does anyone want to caption this expression right here? What does it look like to you?
first place. Streaming services like Netflix have become an everyday part of our lives. Massive libraries
Not the
at our
Vsauce
fingertips
music.
without having to worry about a bookshelf full of DVDs or terabytes of MP4s. No, wrong. Editor Josh, wrong MP4. While the benefit of streaming video on demand is convenience, the downside is that you never have a tangible copy of anything. This, along with the decline of physical media, means that many shows and movies that are published in this day and age go directly to streaming and never get a DVD or Blu-ray release. You never get to own something yourself.
Which, isn't it kind of fucking stupid, though? Like, isn't it kind of fucking dumb? Like, the whole reason, like, your reaction to piracy should be, I need to offer something that they can't get through pirating. The very bare minimum you can do is have a physical fucking release copy of it.
Case in point, Disney published, cancelled, and took down Willow within 6 months. It is one thing to take a product off shelves if it isn't selling, but consumers were never given an option to purchase a copy of Willow in the first place.
It's
if it weren't for
true.
people that had ripped the show for others to watch while it was still online,
Damn, that's a
the
lot.
existence would have been nothing more than a barren Wikipedia page. To finally come back around to that title that you clicked on. Piracy is morally correct.
The thing you can't get through piracy is dignity and self-respect? I respect the shit out of myself for the things that I have chosen not to buy, actually.
As a form of media preservation. It's something that's a bit tricky to navigate. You can't preemptively rip 6 seasons of Below Deck because you won't know that it's being taken down before it's too late. You can't archive every single piece of media that you've ever watched because A, that's a lot of storage, and
It is a lot of
B,
storage.
illegal to pirate, or C, very expensive to obtain legally. But coming back to the point I made
I'm not a digital hoarder though. Like I'm usually like a pump and dump for my content, you know what I mean? I mean, I guess it depends. I tend to hoard the visual novels I keep, which is a problem because those are like fucking huge, but other than that, if I'm watching something, I usually just pump and dump it, you know what I mean?
Earlier, if it's not on store shelves, if it's not available online through official or resellers or streaming, is it really stealing when there's nowhere I could buy it from in the first place? If I want to play something from the 3DS eShop in 2025, I don't have that choice. I can't buy something. If I want to watch Willow, I can't get a Blu-ray or watch it on Disney+. If there simply are not legitimate means for me to give company money for products, then piracy's not hurting their bottom line. There was never going to be a purchase.
A lot of the time, that's how it is. That's how it is. I think most people, especially Nintendo, going after this piracy shit, do people lose money from piracy? Yes. Do they lose such a significant amount of money from piracy that, like, they can't do their business and they're not going to get by and it's impossible for them to operate? Literally, I don't think that that's ever fucking happened. Ever. A single time. Not even once. If it did, I think WinRAR would have forced you to buy it already. They're programs that you can fucking trial forever, like Reaper, without having to pay for it. Why do they do that? If it's like making it impossible for them to run their business. Oh, that's because when a product is actually good and they feel good about it, they fucking buy it. Very interesting how that fucking works. Very interesting that the very people who prevent piracy by selling products that like literally do not force you to buy it, ever, manage to make money and keep running as a fucking company. I don't know, it's insane. It's insane to me. It's a huge waste of Nintendo's fucking time. And it really shows you what their priority is as a company. It's not creating good games. It's preserving their monarchy. They're preserving their monarchy on these titles that you love, and they're manipulating your nostalgia to remain a behemoth on the market. And they just want to flex their fucking huge money penis in front of everybody. Does it do anything for them? Not really. But it sends a message, doesn't it? For example, you know that one guy who has to pay, like, what was it, 10% of his paycheck to Nintendo every single fucking month? It's crazy. Actually insane. They're not going to gain anything from taking out, like, fucking $50 from this guy's paycheck every month. It's about punishing people. They really do want to be seen as, like, enemies of the fucking community. S-Blaze, it reflects poorly on them. They'll lose more money by losing customers by doing this than they would if they didn't do anything about the piracy. Exactly. Exactly. Very true, very true. Nintendo patent stuff when there are already games that I have, that mechanic, that is insane. I hate Nintendo. Yeah, remember Palworld when they tried to say that they held the patent on, like, throwing a ball to capture something? Did you know that if you make a game where you throw a ball to capture a creature, then you are going to get copyright claimed by Nintendo, and you will have to change it. It's going to make them very angry. Very, very mad. The Palworld stuff was unacceptable. Pretty much everything that they've done was unacceptable. I watched another video a while ago talking about the shit that Nintendo's gotten up to, and I didn't even know some of them. I didn't even know about some of them. But yeah, it's just they continuously do things that make them look like fucking corporate evil overlord villains. And it's just really depressing. What helps, though, is that they haven't been releasing good games lately, so I feel very little urge to buy the Nintendo Switch 2 anyway. That works for me. That works for me. All of my favorite games are getting Steam releases anyway, so it's like, whatever. I guess it don't matter. I guess it don't matter too much. Let's see if they ever manage to release something that I actually want to play. Probably not if they keep focusing on getting rid of people who like fucking John Smith out there who's downloading one copy of Nintendo's fucking Mario Kart 6. Let's see if they can stop focusing on him and actually focus on making games worth playing and buying. Oh, and then they release that, but then also they make it $80. Don't forget, they make it $80 fucking dollars too. In case it wasn't enough. I still haven't gotten over the fact that they decided to make fucking Mario Kart their flagship game for a brand new console. Wow, the amount of confidence that this company has is just insane. They're like, you know what? We can do the bare minimum. We can do the bare fucking minimum and get away with it. They're gonna buy it because they're Nintendo fans. They like Pokemon and Mario and Donkey Kong, and they're gonna buy it no matter what we do. Did you see Mario going fast though? Yeah, I saw Mario doing the dance. I sure did. Yeah. You know what? Yeah, I'm gonna, yeah, fuck it. $550 to Nintendo HQ. Immediately. They deserve it. What is this? Is Mermaid fish or meat? I think I said that it's meat.
I have diabetes. I'm in deep depression because of a simple question.
Why would you include that in the short? Just her little I have diabetes at the beginning. What? Hello?
If you buy half a raw mermaid, is it the fish or meat, or does it matter?
Fish is meat though. It's just like fish.
I'm right. Is
I'm
it
right.
fish or is it meat?
So that means it's all meat, just like I'm different right. varieties on each side.
Wait, but
I'm
you
right.
can eat fish during Lent. So can you eat a half a mermaid
Oh, wait, this is where I said something controversial on accident.
during Lent?
Okay, but Lent is like fake anyway,
Oh, Jesus! Wow.
It's like, don't eat these things to like not make people angry. That's not. Would you think God cares if I eat a pig? Do you think that's what God is focusing on right now? Me? Wait, maybe God is Nintendo. It's like that. Instead of focusing on improving the world, God is focusing on John, who is eating a pig during Lent. That's crazy. God, Nintendo is insane. So that means Nintendo is literally like God. This actually makes so much sense. Why would you clip this, you asshole? Nah, they're gonna think that like I'm a auntie. They're gonna think I'm like sacrilegious or something. Ew. Imagine being sacrilegious and being like a demon girl like on Twitch and like making that part of your content. That'd be so weird. Ew. Anyway, here's some recent images I made the past month or so. Also, small preview image of a future video idea. Oh my god, guys, look, it's my cat that you can't buy anymore. It's my cat that you can't buy anymore. It's my cat that's gone forever. It's my cat that you can only find on eBay later in like 3 months or something. But look how cute it is. Oh my god. Oh my god, so cute. Missing, have you seen me? If found, contact Chatty before Lucy kills us. Oh, right, that's my little sister. Chatty. You found me. You found me, Chatty. You found me. I'm right here. I'm right here. I never left. I never left you. Ever. Ever. Anyway. Chatty, there's a Lucy under my bed! Ew, why would I be under the mod's bed? Well, yes, technically there is a Lucy under your bed, but there's no reason to be afraid of it. But she's being mean to me and plans to ban me! Yeah. That would be my reaction to that interaction as well. This is fucking terrifying. Is this from Undertale? Is this a Undertale edit? It's fucking horrifying is what it is. That's scary. Like, putting that face on a Chatty is horrifying, and I just want you to know, I'll have nightmares tonight. Why were rabbits evil? Chatty, rabbits are not evil! I'm not evil! What part of me looks evil to you? I don't symbolize violence. What is this fucking intro?
Horror stories have existed for centuries. Gothic novels lead to silent horror.
I heard horror stories have existed for centuries, and I was like, yeah, I read Twilight too.
Films lead to mid-century psychological horror movies, 80s slashers, and eventually to children's horror book series and modern horror movies. These stories see an array of horrifying creatures. When writing or directing a horror project, it makes sense to start with a terrifying villain, right? Strangely, there's a genre of horror film and literature that focuses on creatures and objects that aren't very scary on their own. Currently, a lot of our horror stories focus on the corruption of innocent figures. Children are
rabbits innocent?
Beings, lending to their fear factor when they're transformed into one of the most recognizable.
I don't think rabbits are innocent because rabbits literally have attitude problems and they'll like thump if you make them angry. And then also they fuck like jackrabbits because that's like where the saying comes from. So like they are literally impure. And also they're Playboy bunny. The bunny represents like sex. So how is that pure?
Forms of horror iconography.
Come and play with us, Chatty.
Come and play with us, Chatty.
With nursery
That's me and
rhymes
black-haired
gaining a horror
Lucy.
association with Tiptoe by the Window and the music box melodies being distorted by movies like Insidious and The Conjuring. Clowns are friendly and childlike figures known for their ability to bring joy and laughter, until they're twisted into horror.
Clown music is just ugly, okay? I don't think it's like scary, but it is ugly. 28 Blue will probably let a lot of kids find them cute. Well, they are cute, that is fair. I do think rabbits are cute.
Figures in books like The Circus of Dr. Lau and movies like It and Killer Clowns from Space. Even the most innocent figures of the bunch, dolls,
Look who's come.
If you're scared of dolls, you're a pussy. I'm sorry. Press 1 if you're scared of dolls. Press 2 if you're not a fucking pussy. I do not understand what's so scary about them. I just don't. I don't.
Your house to stay. A pal you can play with all day long.
With their purpose being of children's toys and their appearances intentionally designed to be as cute
Porcelain
as
dolls
possible,
are a big nope. I think
morphed
the
into horror
porcelain ones are
creatures like
pretty.
Annabelle, Chucky, and books like R.L. Stein's Night of the Living
I
Dead.
fucking hate Chucky. I hate Chucky so much. I hate it. I fucking hate that stupid ass movie.
Why are we often more scared by innocent creatures turned evil than outright sinister horror creatures? I'm gonna attempt to answer this by using an example of one of the most innocent and friendly creatures I can think of.
Me!
Rabbits.
Oh.
Just by looking at them, it's clear that they're pretty unthreatening. They're small and fluffy, and their status as a prey animal
The duck is
solidifies
way
the decision
cuter.
not to fear them. But they're inextricably linked to fear and violence through their presentation in the media.
Oh my god, yeah, I forgot. This guy was evil. This guy was evil. And then in Zootopia, they have the main character and she's a bunny, but she's a cop.
Let's take the first example that probably comes to mind when I say the word rabbit.
I'm late for a very important date.
Alice's Adventures in Wonderland is an 1865 children's book written by Lewis Carroll that follows the titular Alice's journey down a rabbit hole and into the fantasy world of Wonderland, where she meets an array of whimsical
Wait,
characters,
is the rabbit in that a bad
potions,
person?
and
I don't
defeats a
think
tyrannical
so.
queen who chops people's heads off. It's a heavy
That
kids book,
queen
but
me,
it was
by the way.
popular enough to define a generation, then continue to impact generations to come as each saw their film adaptation of the novel. And one of the central characters is the White Rabbit. Culturally, rabbits have been known to
Daddy,
symbolize
I'm a white
innocence and
rabbit.
rebirth.
A colonial white
This mostly
rabbit right
tracks
now.
with his identity in Alice in Wonderland. He represents curiosity, and his anxious nature tracks with the anxious, flighty personalities of rabbits in the real world.
Yeah, but he just has a little bit of
Jump
anxiety.
forward
That's
about
not a
100
crime.
years, and you get probably the most violent depiction of rabbits. 1978's Watership Down is a terrifying children's
What
movie.
the fuck?
And that's a loose
What is
classification.
this?
About a rabbit facing oppression and violence from both predators and the authoritarian leader, General Woundwort.
Oh my
There's a
god.
literal rabbit slaughter in this movie, and that's
I have
probably
not
the nail
seen
in the
this,
coffin
but I
for
want
people's
to.
association with rabbits to violence. When you think about it, the people who made some of the movies that will be mentioned later were young children when this movie came out, and that traumatizing image can change the perception of rabbits forever. Richard Kelly, the director of
This looks
Donnie
like a
Darko,
fever
even
dream
said that when
movie.
designing the character of Frank, he wanted
Okay,
him
that's
to be
actually kinda
disturbing
scary
and
a little bit.
animalistic, and that the 1972 Watership Down novel was the inspiration for the character. The direction and lighting of Frank's scenes, the score that accompanies him, and his costume design all contribute to a very eerie feeling surrounding the character. From a narrative perspective, he symbolizes mortality, and Donnie's
If
struggle
I
with
see this,
identity
I
and
punch it
decision-making.
immediately, and then I scream
Towards
and
the
cry
end,
and run
Frank
away.
is unmasked and revealed to be a regular human, contributing to this notion that a regular, innocent creature is enclosed in this violent and disturbing symbolic shell.
Why are you wearing that stupid bunny suit?
Why are you wearing that stupid man suit?
A similar relation
Why are you wearing that stupid bunny suit? Chatty, why are you wearing that stupid man suit? Take it off and show me your
relationship is explored in the 1950 film Harvey, where Jimmy Stewart is acquainted with an imaginary rabbit that represents duality and an escape from reality. This notion even appears in music.
Out of context, this fucking photo just makes no goddamn sense at all whatsoever. What is this, his first soda? It's like it's got humanish kind of facial features. It looks like a fursuit kind of thing.
Jefferson Airplane's song White Rabbit tells the Alice in Wonderland story, a children's tale, through a very eerie song with a soft-spoken voice and a haunting melody. Again, a seemingly innocent story is obscured by reframing its contents to be creepy. Oftentimes, this symbolism introduces other plots
Many
to explain
such
the violent
cases
nature.
in horror.
In 1972's Night of the Lepus, the appearance and aggression
I thought
of
those were
rabbits is directly
horses.
linked to their forced experimentation by humans. They transform from cute, fluffy pets into horror creatures that inflict violence
This is
and
so
destruction.
fucking funny, I'm sorry.
This story aims to explore the relationship between humans and animals that we only view as beings that exist for our need to further human scientific understanding.
Killing mutant
A
rabbits with
similar
a
story is
shotgun.
explored in Jordan Peele's Us. In the opening scene, the first thing we see are rabbits trapped in cages. This scene is creepy for a number of reasons. The music, the lack of specificity in the location, and the confinement lead us to assume the worst fate for these rabbits. The initial assumption likely being that they're about to be violently experimented on. Turns out their fate is even worse. They're about to be eaten. This cements them as
Is
part of
that
the
worse?
cycle of violence, survival,
Is that worse? Would you rather be horribly experimented on or killed and then eaten?
and death, predator,
Press 1 to be experimented, press 2 to be eaten.
prey. Their status as a symbol of innocence, and the fact that the tethered are eating them, also serves as a reflection of the violent nature of the tethered.
Look at all
Their
those people
eventual
who'd rather
connection
just
to the
be killed
people
and eaten
above,
without
and
any
the us
suffering.
versus them message of the movie.
Makes sense to
We're
me.
human too, you know. Exactly like you.
The rabbits are innocent to the people above, but mere sustenance a means for survival to the people below in fertility and intuition.
Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh, I made a mistake. Chatty, I made a mistake. Chatty, I made a mistake.
It's an experimentation for
We're
educational
back.
understanding.
Hydration?
Suffice it to say, the inclusion of rabbits in Us is not a coincidence. Nothing in a Jordan Peele movie is. But he stated that in order to make a good horror movie, you have to start with something that scares you.
I really tried to make something that incorporates what I love about
You know what
girls and
scares me? The fear of Chatty leaving me forever and having nothing and being a stinky femcel alone. But instead of being a stinky femcel with Chatty behind me, I'm a stinky femcel with nothing behind me. Can I make a horror movie on that?
sort of steps into its own new subgenre.
For Us, he cited his own fear of coming face to face with an evil doppelganger of himself. And clearly this was a popular enough fear to make the movie a commercial success, earning $70 million in the United States on its opening
Are you afraid
weekend.
of doppelgangers?
But why rabbits? Well, looking at the other interviews that Peele did for this movie, it becomes abundantly clear that he has a fear for rabbits. In an interview with Time, he said, "Rabbits, they're supposed to be cute. On paper, they're adorable and lovable, but have you ever gotten close to a rabbit? You can tell in their eyes they have a brain of a sociopath."
What is he talking about? You sound like a sociopath. It's a fucking rabbit, bro. It's a fucking rabbit.
If you put a rabbit brain in a human body, you have Michael Myers. They have no empathy. They're an animal of duality.
What?
They're adorable, but they terrify me at the same time. And they've got those scissor-like
What are you talking about?
ears that creep me out. So it's clear that his existing fear for the creatures led to their inclusion in his horror movie. Even his comment about their scissor-like ears and the symbol
Bro is scared of a fucking herbivore.
of scissors in the movie as the chosen weapon of the tethered and the tool to make the Hands Across America paper cutouts fits with the message of the film. In another interview, he shared the first horror movie that he remembered watching as a kid.
Have you guys ever seen a rabbit? The pure violence with which they eat carrots and lettuce and fucking plants with? It's so scary. Can you imagine if there was a real human being who was like a vegan? Those people would be really intimidating.
So scary, so inappropriate for how old I was. And yet I was able to watch it and understand it. And by the end, I felt less scared.
Where have I seen this
than I
guy's
did
face before?
watching it. So that's how I knew the power of horror.
It makes complete sense that the first
JB,
horror
thank you
movie
for the
he
19
watched
months.
revolved around a fly's DNA being mixed with a human to create this disgusting creature. It's the same story that's been molded with rabbits in the media. A creature with a previously innocent reputation is distorted in a horror movie and impacts its reputation to the viewer. From
Comedy
animated kids
skits?
movies to
That
adult
might be
horror
it.
movies, we see this mixing of rabbits with horror. In Wallace and Gromit: Curse of the Were-Rabbit, Wallace is trying to cure the rabbit population problem, and accidentally
I think a lot of clay animation stuff is actually really scary.
creates a giant human-rabbit
Just
hybrid
the
that terrifies
medium
the
itself looks
townspeople.
creepy.
The film is lighthearted, but the stop-motion animation and this unnatural hybrid can be scary to child audiences. David Lynch's surrealist sitcom Rabbits is more outwardly disturbing take on the unnatural human-rabbit hybrid. The anthropomorphic family of rabbits is living in an eerie sitcom reality, giving the viewer a sense of unease.
This looks AI
It's
generated.
a simple, easy, effortless technique that allows any human being to dive within and transcend and experience this ocean of
I was
pure
expecting to see a bunny in the
consciousness.
audience for some reason.
If rabbits don't exhibit horror behaviors, they just have a hint of creepiness. One of the main characters in The Secret
Have you seen that new game Date Everything? It's so loosey coded. I have heard of it. I guess I'll check it out later.
History who meets a violent end is named Bunny. The Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane is a children's book about a stuffed rabbit, but Edward is consistently abandoned and experiences poverty and neglect in his journey. If rabbits do exhibit horror behaviors, they're often not some metaphorical reasoning in the background. They're the point of
You once
focus.
said in a video it wasn't difficult to see a character that's cute on the outside being a total sadist. Is that not still the case?
I mean, well, yeah, but it's a fucking bunny. You know what I mean? It's not a human being. I can see a human being lying about being cute and innocent on the surface. I can't picture a bunny lying about it. Like, if a bunny is evil, it's just going to tell you. Like, if you give it the sentience to talk, it's going to be like, yeah, I'm evil. And it wouldn't lie. It would just be like, yes, I'm evil, and I eat carrots evilly. You know what I mean?
The Bunnicula book series follows the family dog Harold, theorizing that the new pet rabbit is a vampire. These fears are eventually healed, but the cover of all the books features a scary-looking rabbit with furrowed brows and bright
Today,
red eyes.
vegetables! Tomorrow, the world!
Fears are eventually healed, but the cover of all the books features a scary-looking rabbit with furrowed brows and bright red eyes. Horror movies like Bunny Man and Sexy Beast also directly center around rabbits being an apt
Sexy
focus
what?
for horror. And that's not even mentioning the
Chatty, is this what it looks like to be a Chad?
video games.
Even before I take you apart, you won't see my face.
God, I hate Five Nights at Freddy's.
Bonnie from the Five Nights at Freddy's series is an animatronic robot haunted by the spirit of a murdered child. Robbie the Rabbit from Silent Hill 3 is a rabbit
Oh my god,
mascot
not
for
the Five
Lakeside
Nights at
Amusement
Freddy's
Park.
spoilers.
Following the themes of the game, his innocent appearance contrasts the dark setting, and he appears as a symbol for fear and unsolved childhood trauma. Even in more indie games like the Rusty Lake franchise, we see characters like Mr. Rabbit, a mysterious
I can't help but think that they're
figure,
cute anyway.
murder the player Dale's family at his 9th birthday party.
Which rabbits are known for doing. Rabbits do that all the time. There will be blood. The past is never dead. It is not even past.
This act
Wait, why he's
symbolizes the death
spitting,
of
though?
innocence, which goes back to the original characterization of rabbits. So why is this? Why are there so many examples of rabbits as symbols of fear and violence? Well, if we go back through history,
I'm
we
not
can find a
doing
number
that,
of
am I,
possible
Chatty?
explanations.
Right now, I'm not fear and violence,
Looking back
am
at
I?
medieval art, there's a strangely large array of works that feature rabbits as violent creatures. These drawings are drolleries, small artworks in the margins of manuscripts that often feature funny scenes and a mixture of animals. In these drolleries, the enjoyment of them comes from the distortion of reality.
What the fuck is happening in this drawing? What is going on? Is he gonna is that like a fucking butt plug or something? It's like a torture device? Who? Bunny surgery? Nipple twister?
And a mixture of animals.
No, these pictures are
the enjoyment
fucking
of them comes from the
amazing.
distortion of reality.
What the hell? What's the random plant doing here? What? Are they taking off their huh? Bro, these bunnies don't even know what they're doing. Like, look at their faces. Not a single thought in that fucking
A
head.
reimagination of the world from a different point of view. So the humor in these likely comes from the universally considered innocent creatures performing violent acts. Rabbits may have also gained a negative
Okay, I don't like this
reputation
picture.
because of their
It's
link
gross.
to disease.
Kate Bunn, welcome.
Tularemia was a disease first discovered in 1911. In 1919, bacteriologist Edward Francis linked the disease to wild rabbits, earning it the name
Oh my god, but look how cute those rabbits are. Oh my god, kawaii.
rabbit fever. This disease
I
led to a
forgive
fear
them.
surrounding wild rabbits as disease carriers. This negative attitude surrounding rabbits existed years earlier in 1887, when rabbits brought to mainland Australia in 1859 began reproducing at an alarming rate, and 25,000 euros
Jackrabbits!
were offered for any method for the effectual extermination of rabbits. They were viewed as a nuisance. Rabbits took on other
God forbid that me as a rabbit have a lot of sex and have a lot of little babies and that you could technically hunt to have for food. God forbid I participated in the system of life and rebirth and fucking death. God forbid I was part of the ecosystem.
interesting symbolic meanings in different cultures as well. African folklore features a character named Brer Rabbit, a small but clever trickster. In tarot, though the meaning can be changed by the position of the cards, the rabbit tarot usually symbolizes transformation,
There's a
fertility,
rabbit tarot?
and intuition. Another reason rabbits might have
Since
developed
when?
this reputation as horror creatures is because of their association to witches.
What's cooking?
Witches, like rabbits,
What's
are often
cooking,
depicted
Chatty?
living in the forest, being one with nature. Both are associated with superstition, fertility, and cunning. Historically, witches don't have the best
Cunning
reputation.
what?
And if black cats, which were associated to witches, ended up with their sullied reputation, it makes sense why this connection might lead people to view rabbits in a different
Yeah, but you want to know what rabbits and black cats have in common? Their bad reputation is bullshit and they don't deserve it.
light as well. As Christianity began to take over Western Europe, rabbits that were originally associated with the goddess due to their supposed ability to procreate alone were guarded with suspicion because of their association to witches. Stories spread about men following rabbits that were really witches, and their reputation took a major hit. This is solidified in pop culture today.
Honey, I didn't mean to cheat on you with the hot, sexy barmaid with the huge tits. You see, it was the middle of the night, and there was a rabbit, and I followed the rabbit, and it led me to the barmaid, and I think, actually, you know what, honey? I think that rabbit was a fucking
By
witch.
rabbits being familiars to witches, seen in 2015's The Witch, where the rabbit is an eerie, unexplained creature hinted to be related to the witch and the strange occurrences of the town. Another reason for the supernatural association to rabbits can be found in magic shows. Illusionists like Harry Houdini
Illusion, Michael. Trick is something a whore does for money.
How did Houdini die again?
would pull rabbits out of hats in the 19th century. Realistically, this was likely due to the availability
Why are you
of
holding
rabbits,
it like that?
them being small
Ow!
creatures that were easy to work with, and the magic appearance of a cute creature
Oh,
being
punch in
popular
the gut.
with children.
Oh, yeah.
Pull out a rabbit, but that's a rabbit out of a handkerchief. It's out of a silk. It's not a real top hat. It's also not a real rabbit.
And the last weird association I can think of is the Easter Bunny. Probably the most lighthearted character of the bunch. He's fluffy, he hides eggs for children to have fun finding, and he gets you a break from school. But even this figure holds a strange juxtaposition with his cheery and light commercialized identity and the true purpose of Easter as a celebration of the resurrection of Jesus Christ in Christianity. Just like Jordan Peele saying there's a weirdness behind their cute eyes, and just like a real human character existing behind Frank's mask,
weirdness behind their cute
one of the
eyes.
most highly recognizable holiday figures is just the shell of a rabbit concealing the
to
true
be fair, I will admit that every single Easter Bunny costume always looks horrifying and scary, and they should just not, like, no. Like, don't even try to do that shit.
Purposes of this religious holiday. In terms of their representation in horror, it relates to the creation of new fears. Because when you base a horror creature off of a normal, innocent creature, it allows the viewer to be scared by that during their everyday life. I've never run into a ghost or a zombie, so I'm able to dissociate those creatures from my own life. But Psycho made an entire generation scared of showers, and Scream made people jump in fear every time their landline rang. There's a sort of uncanny valley when—
Man, I still get fear whenever I hear a phone ring, but that's because I have social anxiety and I don't want to answer it. A rather large rat welcome. Hello, fellow Lucy Pyre. You didn't even spell my name right.
Innocent creatures are amalgamated into evil things. New Yorker film critic Richard Brody stated that the rabbit's cute and gentle air of innocence becomes an easy mask for macabre design, while also suggesting powers of easy and plentiful reproduction that happens largely out of view, and suddenly results in a vast, unexpected new population. The ordinary—
What's your favorite scary movie? I really like Hereditary. I don't know if I love the ending, but I think the whole experience of Hereditary makes it my favorite. I think the Midsommar ending is pretty fucked up and unexpected. I was actually really scared of It Follows because I have a fear of being chased. I really hate games where you're being chased and you have to like run from the enemy, which is pretty much like 99% of them. 99% of them.
Into the uncanny valley and the apparently harmless into deceptive sources of evil. All in all, the transformation of Rabbit speaks to the possibility of horror. You wouldn't think that an innocent creature could become a somewhat irrational fear, but their history explains how their current—
Are there any innocent creatures that you're afraid of, Chatty? I'm gonna be honest, I'm afraid of dogs, like, regardless of how, like, big or small they are. I have a fear of dogs. I don't even really know why. I just do. Have I ever been mauled by a dog or hurt by a dog in the past? Not really. But they scare the shit out of me. Like, when they bark at me, when they look at me, I get intimidated. Bees? Yes, bees, absolutely bees. Fucking bees.
Being built throughout the—
yeah, there are people who are like, oh my god, I love little honeybees. Yeah, you can have them. They can fly around you. Keep them away. Keep them out of my fucking neighborhood.
Centuries. Rabbits are anxious animals, and their consistent preference to flight in fight-or-flight situations lends them to be easily used in movies that center around grim subject matter.
They're so
It poses the question of what innocuous creature will be transformed into a horror icon next.
We'll
just have to wait and see.
When people believe something can be real, it will scare them more.
I was 10 years old, it was Scream. And I still
I
remember
watch
the
this
VHS. The VHS, I was afraid of the tape. I was afraid that the tape would do something to me.
As children, we fear these things and we let our fears out. We tell people because we're unsophisticated. And as we get older, we still have the fears, we just sublimate them.
I mean, David Lynch, he's not a horror director, but he still made some of the scariest stuff out there. And he's someone that makes his own sound.
The animals are a reflection of what that person's inner psyche.
I want to play that Silent Hill
what
game.
Position they're in. Because the deer, he's in headlights and Get Out. The rabbits, and about there being an underworld and then being
Bees are important, okay? I understand that bees are important for the environment, but do you want to know something? That means nothing in the moment when there's a bee nearby, and you're just remembering when you sat on a bee on accident as a kid and it stung you right in the fucking ass.
Horses, how they're being used in the Hollywood context.
When he told me of his dream,
literally in the ass, by the way.
The mix of fantasy and horror and
I was
surrealism
violated.
that he wanted to imbue in the film, I was just really taken with the man as a sort of dark artist.
It's a fucking fucking wondered that I became obsessed with farming games as a kid, because the whole reason that happened is because my mom was visiting a friend who had like a farm, and she brought me with her, and I was basically told to just go fuck off somewhere and like not get in the way of things, and so I sat down on a swing set and got stung! Fucking bees all over the farm. Bees all over the goddamn farm, which makes a lot of sense. They love pollinating. They love getting their little fucking juice out of the plant penises or whatever, or plant pussies. I don't know, whatever they do. But like, why? Why did that happen to me? And yet I still grew up to be obsessed with farming games. I should have been scared of farms in general, but instead I took it all out on the bees. She didn't include ReZero rabbits yet, and it's the worst ones when normie. Exactly. Didn't even include the ReZero rabbits. Fucking terrible. But look at this! Chatty, how could Bunny be bad when Bunny looked like this? How Bunny bad if Bunny cute? How Bunny bad if Bunny hot? How Bunny bad if Bunny sexy? Where's the problem? I don't fucking see one. This one's like slightly disturbing though, because it like looks like Numi's hair, but then it's like my clothes, but like it's also me, but it's not. But who is this? Who the fuck is this creature? Anyway, somebody submitted this too. It says opening moth booster packs.
All right, I'm popping another steel cocoon pack. Still trying to chase Gradient Golden Moth. It's like the only good thing in the set.
How much does that go for?
Take out the trash token. The rest of the set is trash. This has been like an abysmal launch. Oh, wait a minute. Oh.
Wait,
Holy
Yuzu?
crap. Holy crap.
Oh
we
my
got
god,
it.
they pulled
We got
Yuzu.
it, dude. Last pack. We got it. Holy
They got Yuzu, bro.
crap. Holy crap.
That's
we got
crazy.
it. We got it.
Holy shit. I'm gonna barf. Yeah, did you hate that? I hated it, but then I just started thinking it was Yuzu and suddenly it became cute.
Dude, last pack.
Moths are scary too, though. I'm not gonna lie. Moths are scary. Okay, this is called I Spent 30 Days in a Dead MMO and it was amazing.
Welcome to Dark Ages, one of the world's first MMORPGs that once thrived
Dark
on a
Ages.
player-run economy,
I like the
player-run
style, the art
politics,
style.
and even in-game religions. That was 20 years ago,
Oh.
and every year since then, the population
running?
has slowly dropped. There's no logical, financial,
Zero?
or realistic reason to keep Dark Ages running. But the servers are still running, and for $9.95, I am now a registered player on Dark Ages for 30 days. 30 days to find out if anyone is still playing, and if so, why they're still playing. Okay, we're in.
Oh my
And I'm
god, you
naked.
start
It looks like
naked?
we're in some sort of tutorial to start. I'm going to teach you about combat. Be aware that combat is dangerous.
Real.
Make friends about your same level in adventure in a
Ah,
group.
good luck
so
with
the
that,
game
by the way.
encourages
Good
you
luck
to
with
make
that.
friends. That may be a problem. Now, before I dropped the cheap price of $10 on this game, I looked on Reddit to see if anyone was talking about it, and there's basically nothing except a few
It's just people
posts
talking about how
mentioning
it's not,
dead the game
how they're
is.
surprised that
Not
it's
a great
still
sign
there.
for finding anyone. So the website where you download this game is super old school, but I looked through it and saw a community tab. Oh, there's a list for guilds. There has to be
no.
people playing this game with this many guilds.
Oh,
All right,
no.
I'm done with the tutorial. Time to find some people. There's somebody. Wait,
What
that
the
was so
fuck?
quick.
Oh
How
my
am I
god, they're
already finding people in
ERPing,
this
aren't
game?
they?
Okay, I'm not sure if these are real players or not. They haven't responded in
God.
over 5 minutes, and they're blowing nose bubbles.
Even
this game
the
has been out for
old
26
fucking
years,
games
so I
can't
guess
get
it's
past the
fairly
bots?
unlikely to find anyone in the first town of the game. They're probably somewhere else. So here's the plan for these 30 days. There's 2 things that can happen. Number 1, this game is trash, and there's no real reason for it to be around. So I play 30 days and get out. Or the game turns out to be great, and I do my best to help revive it. The question is, how would I do that? I continued to walk around looking for people.
I don't know, it
but I
looks
had
pretty
no
peak
luck.
to me.
I think I
Got
might
naked
be
people, you
alone.
start the game naked,
Since there's
base.
nothing else to do, I figured I would take a look at my quest list, and it said I should pick up a class. Dark Ages is an MMO, so you choose what type of style of play you want. I went with Priest. I figured if I was gonna make any
Oh,
friends,
I would've
I'd
failed
have a
the eye
much better
tracker challenge
chance
right
if I
there.
became a priest and devote myself to keep others alive. Here's somebody.
Oh my god, wait, they're... Oh my god, the style. Hi.
Hello, I'm a new player.
Welcome.
What?
Not many low levels these days.
I think my questions must have been so obviously ignorant that it
Oh my
caught
God.
the attention of a different player nearby. Is that a real
There's
novice?
people!
She's confused how I even found this game. That's how you know this game is dead. It sounds like I might have messed up choosing Priest because Priests apparently don't learn any attack moves, which means I have to find another new player to level up
you
with.
fucking
So I
soft-locked
took a shot in the
yourself.
dark, and I asked this player if they wanted to make a new character with me and level.
Amusing.
I don't know what amusing means, but I think they just laughed at me.
Dude, they're
but then,
fucking,
it
oh
seemed
my
like
God,
they might
they're
actually be
shit-talking
interested.
him in the guild
I think I just
chat.
made my first friend. They spent the next 10 minutes explaining how the game works and provided some info about the classes. They were very knowledgeable and definitely seemed like a veteran, so I asked how long they've been playing.
Oh, the truth comes out. Aww.
Suddenly, I'm in a group with this person on a fresh account they made. I guess the first goal of Dark Ages is to get level 6.
This is so
we got to
sad.
slaying. There's only like 3 people who play how we currently are.
What the
3
fuck?
people? When you started playing, was there a lot more players? It used to be thousands. Doesn't seem like
Wait,
a
this
lot.
is
but I
making
guess
me
that's
feel
more than
nostalgia for
3.
something I've never
There's
played
a lot
before.
Of fun stuff that happened. It's all in the past. So, from my understanding so far, this game has a player base of roughly 30 to 40 people who aren't even really playing the game. They're mostly just hanging out online. Not only that, everyone who plays is at the maximum level already, and I might be the first person in over a decade who is truly new. So if religion, politics, and economy are clearly not what they used to be, why are people still here? We finished leveling in the crypts, and I was taken on a shopping spree around town.
Oh my God,
to
this
purchase a
wizard
few
looks so
items that will help
cool!
me over the next 30 days. This player was so kind and welcoming, chatty and supportive. I have never seen this
They were
level of
chatty? Oh my
enthusiasm
God,
towards
chatty,
a new
why didn't you
player
tell me
in
you started
any
this
other
video?
game. It almost feels fake, but I know it's probably just the love they have for this game pouring through. We talked for a bit longer, and before we parted ways, I asked if we could stay friends and maybe level up again tomorrow. Overall, not a bad first day in Dark Ages, but there's still lots to learn and possibly more people to meet. While I was offline, word got around that a new player had entered Dark Ages. This game is so dead that the fact that I just logged in as a new player is like the biggest news they've heard in a long time. I was introduced to a person named Yuki.
He's popular
Yuki is
automatically.
what the game calls a ranger, basically the police. The ranger's job is to hold players to the terms of service, and they have the power to punish, ban, or
What?
delete characters from the
Imagine.
game. We talked for a while, and
Imagine they were evil, and the real reason the game wasn't getting any new players is because anytime she saw one, she would fucking immediately ban them. And they were gatekeeping the game.
I was taken to a town. I didn't know where I was,
Hydrate while
but
you
suddenly
think
I got
on
an
that.
invite to a guild. I am now a member of Chocolate.
Man, I love this art
After I
style. It
joined the
has
guild,
so much
Yuki
soul.
brought me to a specific area in the game where apparently everyone goes to hang out. If I was ever going to see somebody online, they would most likely be here. There's a total of 6 people today, and I think 3 of them are the same
Are
person.
they Dragon Ball
50
Z? What the
million
fuck is that
gold.
hair?
For some reason, everybody is trading me and giving me random items that I'm sure
Let
are
me guess,
important
those
and
are like
helpful. I just
hardcore
have no idea
items
what
and
they
shit.
do. I spent a good hour or so here, just hanging out with the other players. On day 3, I returned to the same area and was surprised to see even more players hanging out. Apparently, there are a few
Why they got
people
the Gaia
who still
Online
play
wings?
the role-playing aspect of this game. This might be
Of course.
weird to some of you, but
That's what
role-playing
keeps dead
is
games
kind
alive.
of a big part of some video games, and the number 1 rule is to never break character.
Oh,
He's
wait,
new.
that's the rule?
We need to help him, sis. Later on in the day, I went back to the crypts to slash some enemies and try to level up more when I ran into this guy. He invited me to go deep into the Millith crypts.
Welcome to the
Apparently,
RP
there's some
server.
monsters he wants to kill
There's
down
no
there to
escaping
make
it,
some money.
ever.
We ventured down into the crypts together, and when this guy was a kid, he could never get past level 11 of this crypt. And now we're in level 11, but we're taking down the monsters pretty easily.
It's handy having a priest with me. It's got none on us.
Oh my god.
We continued deeper, and I think the oxygen
Wow, great
levels were
joke. He
decreasing
lied!
because my adventuring friend started to get philosophical on me.
This isn't even 2025. The world has been a...
We were in these crypts now for
Oh.
over an hour, and now that we're on level 15, the monsters were getting a lot tougher. We decided this was a good spot to stop. What a day.
What a
A
day.
couple of days ago, while talking to people in the hangout spot, I was told that getting the title of Master is a huge milestone for the account. My goal by the end of the 30 days is to reach master level and throw a party.
It should be easy, just
like
get
they
carried.
did in the old days. I've been instructed on how I can get master, and there's a lot of training and steps to take, and they said it could be a few weeks, but that party will be worth it. By day 5, I had a routine where I would log in and head straight to the hangout spot. Anyone who is online is most likely in this spot, so it's nice to just head over here and talk to them for a few minutes. Since this game has been around for ages, one of our conversations led to the question of who is the most well-known player. I asked this question as I remember old school RuneScape and Zezima. I'm sure Dark Ages probably has a Zezima equivalent.
I don't know my RuneScape
Some famous
lore.
players are still around for sure. All right, it sounds like there are a few famous players around, and one called Biomagus. Yuki, the ranger we met on day 2, said Biomagus has her own statue. We took a long walk to a different town, and the statue slowly came into view. Yuki told me their story, the first people to ever master. I think it's so cool that this game puts statues in it as a memoir for the first 5 players to ever reach master. Biomagus, the statue here on the left, was the first wizard to reach master level and still plays to this day. And I guess she's online right now. However, she spends her time sitting in a quiet area of the game and chats with her old guildmates. Probably doesn't want to be disturbed. But one day I might get to meet her. Dark Ages is turning out to have a rich history.
Oh my god,
and
she's
a
like
lot more
Stacy.
lore and
She's like the
story
popular
to it than I
girl.
could have ever thought. I almost feel like I missed out on something by
How am I
not
doing?
having
Great.
known about this game earlier on. I spent
No
a lot of
itchy
time
nose,
with
so that's
Yuki
good.
today, and she showed me some of her favorite spots in Dark Ages. I'll remind you that Yuki is a ranger who has powers a normal player can't have, which includes
You should be
this
careful
jail.
being alone with her.
Now here is my favorite room.
What the fuck?
If I jail someone...
It's the power tripping Reddit mods all over again. It's the power tripping Reddit mods. Oh my god, she's gonna lock his ass up.
They appear in here.
Oh
and
my
they cannot
God.
exit for a period of time. First jail is 24 hours, and it doubles up the more you get. Well, when's the last time you sent someone here? A couple weeks ago.
See?
I was expecting years.
She's
That means in
evil!
1 year, I sent 98 people into this room. It's kind of crazy to think she sent that many people to jail. The player base is not that large, so to send 98 people to jail in 1
Dictator.
year sounds...
They've got to get rid of her. They've got to get rid of her. You could have, dude, imagine how many more players you could have if Yuki wasn't here fucking getting rid of them and gatekeeping this shit. Okay, you could have like 50 more players, which means that's enough to like pay your car insurance.
Like it could have ruined the entire player ecosystem. She then told me to make a new character because she has an even cooler power she wanted to show me. You are here because you have been charged with attempting to destroy the imagination that the Dark Ages team
What?
and players have painstakingly created. Yuki calls this place Super Jail. Apparently it trolls you a little and you're not even able to leave. Imagine playing this game for 20 years and Yuki sends you here, wiping the last 2 decades of progress in a single moment. Okay, in the beginning of the video, I mentioned 2 things that will happen in these 30 days. We're only 6 days in, and I am confirming right now, Dark Ages is a good game. So that means I am now devoted to bringing this game back to life. The mastering party is the only idea I have right now, but I've got to think of something else. This game deserves to have more players. We have reached 1 week on Dark Ages, and I am so happy
Wait,
to
what's
have
with all
met
the
the
shit on the
people I've
ground?
met. Everyone is so nice and welcoming, giving gifts and showing me around the world. If you remember, I mentioned that religion is a part of Dark Ages as well. There are a number of gods you can worship, all with different attributes.
naturally.
You can freely choose who you want to worship, but you do have to select just one of them. I chose to worship Glioka,
'Cause she's
the
hot,
god of
she has big
love and
tits, I knew it.
companionship. 2 things I feel I've strongly felt since signing up for this game. Cheesy, I know. In order to join a religion, a high priest from the church has to initiate you.
Look,
like
those flowers,
a
they're
real
so
player
pretty.
from your
Oh my
specific
God, the
religion
pixel
must be
art
online and
style.
help you join. A few Glioka followers helped me, and it didn't take long to join, and now that I'm a part of it, the players decided we should hold mass. I was surprised to see so many people come from all corners of this game to join in mass. I learned that there's actually
You
in-game
come to
benefits for
fucking
showing
church
up.
dressed like that? No. No. Who the hell comes
of
to
this game to
church
join in
dressed
mass.
like
I
her? Hello?
learned
Wait,
that
I'm
there's
in the way, I'm in
actually-
the way. Who does that? You're dressed like a clown!
In-game benefits for showing up, like 15% damage buffs for 1 hour
Don't
after you
slut shame,
attend.
I'm
You can
slut
also
shaming.
lose favor if you don't come to the statue and pray often, so that's probably another reason why people are showing up.
Oh, damn.
A few words. We thank thee for the love and the privilege of receiving it, Mother who smiles upon us in our weakness and is always ready to help us and take us in the arms of love. In Glioka's name,
In the name of the big fat titties that you show us every
Amen.
day when we log
I
in.
learned that eventually I could even have high enough status in the church to hold mass as a high priest. There's a whole system involved with that too, all player run. So far, we've made plenty of friends, joined a guild, learned about the history of Dark Ages, joined a
Chocolate?
church, and met a dude who doesn't believe in time. I'd say we've had a successful start to the game, and I'm starting to see why people choose to play even after all these years. But before the 30 days are over, I will become what they call a master. There's still a lot of work to do, and the next couple of days were spent doing that. On day number 9, I spent time in the dojo training my spells. On day 10, 11, 12, and 13, I was still in the dojo training spells. But on the end of day 13,
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of miss MMOs where you had to grind shit and like you would just have to basically spend a stupid amount of hours doing nothing but listening to either music in the background or like a random YouTube video while you grind the shit out on the MMO. I did this shit in Mabinogi.
things just got insane. The process required to get master is long and absurd, and even though I had help, I still had no idea what was going on. An example of what I mean. I was introduced to the craziest in-game system I have ever seen in a video game. First, you take these succubus hairs.
Succubus's hair?
Yes, you heard that right. You place them in this
Chatty, what are
altar,
they gonna do
which
with my
looks
hair?
more like a hollowed out almond, and then you're supposed to kill yourself.
That's a
You can
football.
kill yourself
What?
by walking in front of this dude who, for some reason, hurts your character if you're nearby him. Great, now I'm in purgatory. But that's all intended because in this death zone, you walk aimlessly into a bunch of stones until
this
you
is so
find
cool,
the entrance
though.
to the lower level. Here, you can trade in your excess experience for HP and mana with the two god and devil things. Apparently, this is all required if I want to reach master, and there is no way in hell I would have figured out any of this if I didn't have someone helping me.
Yeah, what the fuck?
So yeah, this is just some of the things I've been doing over the last few days. I had a busy couple of days in real life, and there were still a few spells I had to train in the dojo, but by day 19,
Oh my God,
after spending
it's
a
a
week
belly.
training spells and doing some things that were probably honestly too boring to show you, we have made it to master, or we're
Wait,
at least
that
ready
quick?
to become a master. Back in the good old days of Dark Ages, it was customary that guilds would hold parties for people who reached master rank. Wanting to bring back that tradition, I will also have a party. I've already sent out a letter to the guild with a time and a date.
I must reveal the truth.
What's happening?
What?
What is Never talking about?
The Bindo you all think you know.
What?
In truth, he is a spy.
What?
A demon, at that.
What? A music. I can't! What do you mean? What the fuck?
After the fanatics were over, I turned in what I needed to turn in to become a master wizard. Yeah, I was a priest, but I guess I'm a wizard now. It's hard to explain, but just I'm a priest and a wizard,
Don't worry about it.
essentially. Random internet people just showed up to an in-game party to congratulate me on mastering. I'll say it again, Dark Ages is a great game. But what do I do now? I still have about 1 week left of membership to Dark Ages, and I would love to find a way to help revive this game. And as I was figuring that out, I was approached by Never, a player who's been around since day one, lurking in the
Never.
shadows.
Wasn't this
His
the guy who accused
intuition
you of being a
is pretty
spy?
strong, and he confronted me and accused me of being a YouTuber.
Oh my God. You sound crazy. You should have gaslit the shit out of them.
I lied, but I felt bad about
He
that.
did!
So the next day, I told him he was right, and I asked if he wanted to hop into a voice call.
It's insane you picked this
Hydration.
game. Because, like, from the outside, it looks insane, I think.
Yeah, like, there's no guessing what type of game it is. Like, I really had no idea what to expect.
Because, like, one of my biggest complaints is there's not enough players to really engage with some of the systems of, like, the politics and, like, the more deep systems that, like, are just require more people, right? And because there isn't that many players,
That's
some
sad.
people will register, like,
I hope this
5
video
accounts a
managed
month,
to bring
right?
more
So that's, like,
people
50
into
bucks
the
a month
player
just there.
base.
And they have to do that because there's just not enough players to do what they want to. Does that make sense?
Like, if suddenly there was like 1,000 players online,
Unfortunately, last time it was COVID, the pandemic, to kind of get people coming back. But like, I feel like something else could be the catalyst for that too, right? Like free to play or like, honestly, a very popular video, right?
We chatted for longer, like 2 more hours actually, and by day 30, I knew why people still play Dark Ages. We live in a time where things change so quickly. As millennials, we've experienced the creation of the internet, and I can remember being 10 years old, rushing home after school to hop on my favorite video game. For me, that would be old school RuneScape. I still get chills when I hear some of the music from that game. The internet and PC gaming was so innocent back then. Dark Ages was the same for those few thousand people who played it. And for these last 30 days, Dark Ages has become a part of my routine. Every night, I am excited to log in and hang out with the players. I believe this game was great, and even if the player base doesn't increase, I believe the few remaining players makes it still great.
That's so cute! What a nice video! Kawaii! Maybe you should play Dark Ages. Hey, yo, just sponsor me to play Dark... That's crazy. Imagine asking to be sponsored to play a game that can only survive by charging people $10 to start playing it. I'm sorry, that was... I apologize, that was very insensitive of me. I would never ask for a sponsor, but if you were offering, I'm just saying, like, if you were offering though, you know? Anyway, now for something completely different! Apparently Zesty Italiano made me, like, bar bossa nova. Chatty, I'm not sure I know what bossa nova is. But should I use this in the background of my streams? It's pretty chill. If I gave you $10, would you play Dark Ages for a month? I don't know if I have time for that. Because I've paid, like, way more money for games that I haven't been able to finish yet. So yeah. Do you guys like bossa nova? What is this genre? Is it like a type of jazz? It's a Brazilian music genre? Oh. Actually, we might have to ban. We might have to ban. Oh. Why would you say that to me? Why would you tell me that? I could have just gone without knowing the entire time, and instead you're like, oh, Lucy, it's Brazilian. Just so you know, Lucy, it's Brazilian. Just wanted you to know. It's Brazilian. Brazil made peak. I mean, I can't argue. I like the way it sounds. I like the way it sounds quite a bit, quite a bit. Brazilian Lucy loves bossa nova. Yeah, I bet she does. I bet Brazilian Lucy loves a lot of things that normal colonial white Lucy doesn't like, you know? How much is a Brazilian? Like a 5. At least 5. At least 5. Costa del Sol or bossa nova? Oh, I love the Costa del Sol background music. Very nice, Dusty. Very nice. Thank you so much. It sounds really good. I like it a lot. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Anyway, apparently the Chinese dating market is cooked. I don't know what bro means by that, so I guess we'll find out.
So at this point, there's no doubt that the dating market in China has skyrocketed to, I don't know how many
What the
levels
fuck is
of
this?
difficult there is, but it's pretty high up there. So not only has the number of single men drastically increased, but the amount...
Lucy, do you have any Latin in you? Would you like some? Wait, Chatty, what did he mean? Chatty, what did he mean?
The amount of people who are now actively leaving the dating scene is on the rise as well. And I kind of respect that, you know? That you
Isn't
can
this
always
everywhere,
just leave. That's always an option. Now, this has led to an interesting moment where we actually get to see the effects of voluntary and involuntary celibacy affecting the wider economy. God, what a sentence.
That's gotta be fake! That's gotta be fake! No way! That would not happen in real life. That's rage bait.
Okay, for example, because less and less couples are getting married each year, we see a decline in the maternity industry, which checks out. And whilst the media tries not to explicitly make the following connections, we know that more and more people becoming single has got to be the reason, or at least a contributing factor, towards why the pet industry is now slowly rising to a major part of China.
My most cringe thing is when people who own pets say that it's like their child, but like they're being unironically serious about it. Like when you tell them like they're not a parent and they're like, that's not true. I have a dog. They're my fur baby. I can't I can't with that shit. Sometimes I joke about Mello being my daughter, but it's only ever to make fun of her and call her autistic.
And pretty much at this point, everybody knows that the dating scene has hit rock bottom. But when it comes to actually facing the issue together, the relevant stakeholders at hand, which is pretty much every single participant within the dating market, are not necessarily uniting their method of approach to tackle the topic of discussion. And this of course includes the percentage of the couples population who I know for a fact are dying to get a piece of this pie, which is actually none of my business, by the way. But y'all are
26%! Bro, why didn't I put this in my fucking NCR video? 26% reporting experiencing sexual infidelity. This is just scaring me away, like, even more and making me never want to leave my fucking apartment.
Dying to get a piece of this pie, which is actually none of my
business.
business,
Granted, I don't live in China.
Y'all are scat, unless it's consensual. Regardless, the point of this rambling here is supposed to tell you that both dating market participants and wider Chinese society continue to hold the opinion that the problem should be addressed. But not everybody takes the same approach in how they participate within the dating market. As the old saying goes, all paths lead to Rome, but not everybody takes the same path. The second part is not the old saying, it's the first part, but like, you get what I'm trying to... Traditionalists, for example, often made up by a slightly more mature audience base, believes the solution towards fixing the dating
Traditionalist, blind date introduced by elders, 2 sweets in urban area, don't respect you, how many years older than you, mature. Was this fucking AI generated? What is how many years older than you mean?
Market and the singleness epidemic is to repatch the arranged marriage meta because...
Michael, age 32, traits, not in debt, works occasionally, no kids, yet. Wait, what does it mean by yet? Beijing, wait, what does this mean?
It's one of the only services that exists where you get full transparency
Wait, there are people in Beijing named Michael?
on what you're supposedly getting into. But the downside towards this method of approach is that you get very little say on who your partner is actually going to be. Personally, I think that's a little counterintuitive because in the scenario where you rush into a relationship where you haven't spent enough time and effort to get to know each other to the full extent, there are of course other issues as well that can arise, for example, like having a lack of trust within the relationship because you didn't spend enough time building it.
Chatty, you would never lie like that, would you? You would never say, I'll do laundry and then not do laundry, would you? That'd be so fucked up. You would never do that.
In the first place. And I swear to God, this is an actual complaint I've seen before. It's the fact that the agency or the broker offers no customer support hotline for when the relationship doesn't work out post-purchase. Fair enough. I mean, if you're gonna make it a service, at least make it comprehensive. Idealists, on the other hand, are made up by a slightly more innocent and younger generation, and believe the solution to fixing the problem is, of course, reviving authentic connections. This basically just means more people need to take the initiative in putting themselves in environments where it can happen naturally.
People don't look like this in real life. Who the fuck? Who is that? That's what people look like in real life. That's people.
Because honestly, it's actually pretty important to have the idea that fundamentally, love should happen when it's at the right moment, and romance should feel spontaneous and not forced. And whilst this is a great solution on paper, the method here adopts the assumption that everybody has great social skills and hobbies worth talking about, and has the mental and social capability of striking up an interesting conversation with a stranger in a public space. Now, here's an interesting and extremely niche report conducted by Seoul and the University of Shanghai. It was a collaborative approach that found the amount of people that are finding it easy to socialize with one another is slowly decreasing.
It's almost like if you raise people with the internet, they won't know how to talk to people because they don't have any experience talking to people. It's almost like that's how I got raised.
With each new generation, even when asked about how they feel doing it in their favorite hobby circles. Now take what you will out of that information, but you gotta remember one thing. All they did was just ask 3,000 people of their current user base, so maybe take it with a grain of salt. Now somewhere between the middle, we have more and more people adopting the realist build. Believe that love is possible only through dedication and hard work.
What the fuck is that? What? Am I crazy? The guy on the top looks like he's already fit. The guy on the bottom looks like unhealthy? Also, yeah, nipples, whatever.
Towards self-improvement. Now, they don't make the mistake in idealizing romance, because love is part emotions and part logistics, and as long as you put in the work, you will get your reward proportionally in return.
What the fuck is this? What is going on with these bodies? What's happening?
To what you have to offer. in theory. In fact, I dare say some people watching right now would agree to this idea and
Real.
would hold their ground and stand firm in subscribing to this idea. Well, that's until you hear about this story. Meet Li Hua, a 25-year-old top 50 global university graduate with a stable job and income and ownership of property and car in the city of Jinan. Now, he was surprisingly having a little bit of difficulty finding a suitable partner despite being on already 10 to 20 dates. And the counter-argument to cases like Li's, which naturally presents itself in the eyes of the realists, is that there's always a magic number to your problem. Because the nature of statistics tells us, supposedly, that the easiest way to increase the likelihood of something happening is to rinse and repeat within your realms of possibilities until it happens. But my carefully curated counter-argument to that is, of course, Li Hua's story happened 11 years ago. He's still single. Now, I actually wasn't going to include the full story, but upon reading his full experience, I'm not joking when I say this is possibly the biggest L I've ever seen in my 25 years of life. Okay, so Lee actually went on his very first blind date back in 2014, arranged by his family through a matchmaking service. Now, this is how he documents the interaction, okay? He still remembers that first girl clearly. In his words, she was stunning. Like influencer level beauty, and that's without filters, just naturally gorgeous. Now, the girl was actually a student counselor at the University of Jinan, which is where
Girth Up Nuts, amazing username, welcome.
And apparently, she thought Mr. Lee was decent as well. But here's the twist. Lee chose not to pursue her. And when prompted to question why, in his own words, he claimed that she was just too good.
I think I found the problem. I think I found the problem with why you can't date anyone. I think I figured it out. Guys, just, we can stop the video right here. We can stop it right here. I think we figured it out.
Her. Not only was she beautiful, but she was mature, ambitious, extremely capable in social settings, the full package.
Oh my god, he got intimidated.
That sent me, okay? Being with her felt like I was a level 1 player going up against a max level boss.
Oh.
It just wasn't fair. Mr. Lee said meeting someone like that made him feel like she was out of reach, way out of his league. Now, since that date onwards, Lee stopped being skeptical of matchmaking. He thought to himself, if that's the kind of person I can meet, maybe it's worth trying. Lee then went on to complete 123 more matches, spending an estimated range of 50,000 to 100,000 yuan throughout the process, with no success. Now, I want to be honest with you here.
Because anytime he meets a girl who's good, he's like, oh, she's too good for me. I'm like level 1 and she's like level 99 and like, I just can't go any further with her. What the fuck? Why are you trying to teach? Like, this is not relatable content.
If this was my dating career, the only way you can possibly find this out is if I physically died and someone left it in my will. This might just be the biggest fumble in history. Then, of course, we have the materialists, who don't exactly fall into the spectrum in a
you can say women, it's alright.
Traditional sense, because like the idealists who also chase a concept of romance, or a version of love that perfectly aligns with their desired lifestyle, many materialists would argue that they're just being honest about the harsh modern realities, especially in a dating economy where the cost of being in a relationship has just never been higher. And of course, when you then follow up with the question, bro, what does that all mean? Most of them will just tell you they want someone.
The amount of people who have just like, I don't know, I'm trying to find a way to say this without sounding like a huge misogynist. It's not every woman. It's just a really common trend on TikTok, and no matter how many times I press the like dislike, do not show me again shit, I constantly get videos of women just complaining that like the men in their lives don't want to literally pay for everything that they do. And I really don't understand it. I don't understand how you can want a guy who like wants to give you freedom, but then you also want him to pay for everything. It's kind of strange, because if you want that, then you clearly want a guy who wants more control over you in the first place. You can't want both, in my opinion.
Who's hot, rich, and loyal. The reality, of course, when it comes to seeing die-hard materialists in action, they usually just reduce their cutthroat criteria of hot, rich, and loyal down to a more realistic criteria.
Oh my god, and that reminds me of a more specific video that I saw, where it was like, she met this guy, and the guy said, well, my ideal is that like we would both work and we would like make a lot of money, and then we would retire like early with like tons of money, and we would both have well-paying jobs. And she was like, and that was so unattractive to me because like, why would we both have to work? That's literally amazing! How is that not good to you? That you would both work for a period of time and make a lot of money and then retire early and not work? Both of you! Like, what? How is this like unattractive to you?
Out of the three, that's all you get. And you know, my advice here is that if you do...
Maybe you just don't want a guy who like you know, I don't think you want the type of guy that you think that you want. I don't think you want the type of guy you think you want.
People in your social network, instead of contemplating whether or not they're a good demographic of people to involve yourself romantically with, you can always just become their good friend instead, because whilst they don't always have the most romantic
Wait, are they cosplaying?
They always have the best stories to tell. I love you guys. But personally, I think it's kind of unfair to hold an entire single population, whether fragmented or not, collectively hostage and then demand a magic solution from them. Because most of what's killing the dating market today are things that no one group of people or demographic can actually fix or reasonably control. Because whilst things like gender imbalance
turn the dating market into a nightmare dimension, and it really shows sometimes, TBH.
Sometimes I think about that one girl who was convinced that her friend was not getting matches because he just didn't know how to talk to women. And so she took over his profile and got extremely depressed when she couldn't manage to get like any girls to go on a date with her. I genuinely think that online dating is like, it's a form of self-harm. That's gotta be a form of self-harm, man.
Rising cost of living, looks inflation, consumer dating culture, dating fatigue, and overall distrust towards the opposite gender, decline in social skills amongst men in the Zoomer population can all be attributing factors towards why people are becoming single. We all know that the real reason is simply because the best dating show in history hasn't dropped a decent season in years. So I think...
You know what? They should bring back real dating shows. They should bring that back. They should get rid of this Love Island weird shit, and then they should have like real dating shows for people.
In order to understand the current state of the dating market, we'll need to first
Hell no, that was mom slop. Well, you know what? It's not mom slop. It's actually a woman over the age of 18 who still wants to believe in love despite being single slop. So it's for me. Fuck you.
Simplifying the problem. And to achieve that, you can kind of think of the willingness to escape single life as a spectrum that you can stand on. For example, people who care about being single and people who don't. With people who care about being...
I'm more like right here. I'm like right here. I really don't care that I'm single because I have Chatty, and I do get fulfillment out of Chatty and being with Chatty. But then there's also a part of me that's like, I'm gonna die alone.
Single,
you know what I mean?
Spending the most amount of time and effort
but
to
mostly it's like right here.
Whereas people who don't spend relatively much less effort and urgency to escape. For example, if Xiaoming, sitting at one end of the spectrum, cares a lot about being single, then he may potentially be willing to spend up to 300,000 yuan a year just to sign up to a VIP diamond tier matchmaking.
Does that even fucking work? That other guy spent that much money and didn't get anything, but I mean, that's his fault because he did a major fucking fumble. Dude, imagine being the parents who organized that blind date in the first place. You're the parents who organized this shit, and then your son comes to you later and he's like, she's beautiful, she's awesome, she's an amazing woman, I really like her, I think she's great. But she's too good for me, mom and dad, so I'm not ever gonna see her again. Like, I would fucking...
introduced to the perfect woman. He knows that statistically speaking, the chances of finding a good and successful match in the short run is very low. But he does it anyways because he fears nothing. Then Xiaohong, sitting on the other end of the spectrum, who is generally unbothered or nonchalant about being single, would more likely find the idea of meeting someone naturally by spending most of her time in social or hobby circles she enjoys to be the right play. But we all know the real intellectual powerhouse here is actually Xiao Wang, who would just have as well cross-post his stats in the City Square marriage market and all relevant social platforms and wait for the results to come in themselves. And of course, when we're on the topic of dating and marriage and parental influence, the same research that we talked about earlier, the one with University of Shanghai, suggests that parental pressure is still one of the biggest influencing factors when it comes to shaping children's views on dating and marriage. Now, this is actually a good statistic to have because...
It's true, but it also goes in the opposite direction. If you have like a really bad marriage, then your daughter might grow up to think that marriage is like bad and like not a good thing, and then she won't be that pressed about like pursuing a romantic partner, and instead she'll date her chat.
Now we can factor in parental pressure.
You may think that sounds unrealistic. And yet,
as a key driving point in the phenomenon we see
Harry
in Chinese dating market today. For example,
Hydration.
people who care about being single with parental pressure is more likely to participate in matchmaking and other fast-track dating methods because they have a much greater sense of urgency to escape single life and meet obligations. People who don't care about being single but have parental pressure on their backs could potentially either turn to dating apps or attempt to find meaningful personal connections through more organic routes like hobbies and friendship groups. Or
I feel like this one is the one that leads to like the loveless arranged marriage or something.
Establish communities in order to find the right partner. But it does run the risks of having no urgency, which can lead to the individual spending the majority of their youth in semi-serious situationships that doesn't lead to fruitful outcomes in the long run. Now, people who don't care about being single with no parental pressure,
they're evil.
But of course, at the end of the day, another great soft skill to have that translate into dating success is of course the ability to communicate your emotions clearly and concisely to the other party. So say what you mean. You'll do everyone a favor. And even though 62% of Chinese Gen Z respondents believe the concept of marriage is frightening, I think a tip that you can always remember to help you feel a little better is that how can you be scared of the concept of marriage when the issue of the singleness epidemic is not solved in the first place? Just so you know, if I'm found incapacitated in the streets after the release of this video, I probably deserved it. And of course, up to this point, there are people left that I haven't really covered, and these are what I like to call outliers of the dating market.
Committed suicide with 2 shots into the back of the head.
Because whilst the singleness epidemic is a standard issue across dating market participants, it doesn't necessarily affect everybody to the same degree. Some people are drowning in love while others are drowning in loneliness. I mean, you're both technically drowning, but only one of them actually wants to die. So from the male side of the outlier spectrum, we have people who can successfully pull off the Jackson Wang haircut. In fact, the whole spectrum—
What the fuck is this haircut? How do you get your hair to lay on your head like that?
Might as well just be called How Much Do You Look Like
How
Jackson
much gel
Wang
do
on a
you
scale
need?
of 1 to 10. 10 is single because he's literally Jackson Wang, and dating will only negatively affect his generational run. On the female side of the spectrum, and perhaps the true apex predators of the whole dating market, who's never really suffered from the singleness epidemic, is the tier 1 city rich single auntie with no kids. And whilst the individual's initial reaction to entering this kind of relationship may be to question whether or not it's actually real love, the feeling will quickly fade away after a few sips of your $15 milk tea riding shotgun in her Bentley Continental. Now, despite being on top of the food chain, there are still issues that plague the Ivy League equivalent of daters within the Chinese dating market, and that is the concept of expectation to reality. And this essentially just refers to how many people that actually exist in the population that satisfies your criteria.
Do you guys remember that one thing where it was like a standards check and people could fill it out with like what their standards were for dating, and then people were finding out that their standards were like 0.0000025% of the American population? That was funny.
For example, if you're satisfied with somebody with an ordinary job, not too ugly, and has the ability to support a family, that's approximately 80—
Not too ugly? Wait, guys, if these are your standards, then you should marry me. Hold on. Yeah, say it again.
Ordinary job, not too ugly, and has the ability to support a family, that's approximately 80% of the population.
That's me. I'm not too ugly. I didn't say I wasn't ugly. I'm not too ugly. If you're okay with white women. And then we can both work and we can retire early. Just like that TikTok.
If you're looking for an attractive and well-established individual with a high-paying private sector job and a well-established—
Wait, is streaming a normal job? No, chatty. It's not weird that I'm a streamer. It's a normal job. Okay, it's normal.
Social circle, the figure then sits at roughly—
Do you get paid? Do you think I do this shit? Like, I'm just like fucking living in a basement, getting nothing? No, I don't live in a basement. Okay, I pay rent. I have bills. Rent. I pay it.
If you're looking for a bilingual, well-groomed man with wealth, power, and status so untouchable—
But chatty, I'm bilingual, not well-groomed. I'm only missing one though.
Even celebrities cannot hold a candle to him.
GMP,
Please
thanks
feel
for the
free to
gift
submit
sub.
your application to the State Council. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.
Wow. I think that this just made me realize that the entire dating market is cooked. But in America, you don't really hear about like blind dates being set up by parents. You never hear about that shit here. I wonder how different things would be if that was like a cultural thing in this area. Very interesting. This also got put on Discord. What the fuck is this? Macho Man Randy Savage, the cream of the— like a Discord mod on a voice call while he's talking to Kitten. He's like, yeah, you know I'm him, right? Yeah. I feel changed forever by this video. Wow. I don't know if I can ever return to the way that I was before I watched it. Truly impressive. What a man. He was the cream of the crop, yeah. Lucy, you're the cream of the crop. Am I the cream of the crop? We should bring back VTuber wrestling. That was a good idea. We should do it again. Mobius, thank you for the tier 3 of the 21 months. I appreciate it. Blah, blah. Thank you. I am the cream of the fucking crop. By the way, look at my race car. If I were a race car, this is the noise that I would make when I go down the road. Would you still drive my car? Would you still take me for a joyride? This video has audio? Wait, what? Bro, I swear to God, if all you do is you get me fucking banned for copyright. If this just gets copyright stricken, and it's like, your video can't be monetized. Because you made me fucking play it for this. You're in big trouble. You're in big trouble, mister! The disappearance of third places. This was also submitted. You know, I have a little bit of knowledge of this phrase because when I used to work at Starbucks, they would talk about how Starbucks is the third place. You want Starbucks to be the third place. It's all about being the third place. And then they would talk about how they were gonna get rid of like all of the chairs and like replace them with uncomfortable ones so people wouldn't stay in the cafe for too long. Nice third place you got there, by the way.
The places we go to converse with others and connect with our community outside of school and work. For some, it's a cafe. For others, it's the gym. But for the majority of us Americans, it's some random parking lot you and your friends always end up at one point in the night. Now, this wouldn't be the case if we had places to go, but if you don't live in a major city, your options for a third place are very limited. To make matters worse,
wait, it's the Twitch stream? Chatty, am I your third place? Am I your third place? I want to be your first place.
Since the 2000s, third places have been disappearing, leaving us to hang out in cramped apartments and boba shop parking lots. Today, I'm going to be going over the current state of third places, why they disappeared, and of course, why they mattered in the first place. Works for me.
Hydration.
Just getting texts from my friends about what we're going to do today. I'm going to hang out at a creek. That's how bad the situation is.
Wow, he has friends.
Let's start with the modern landscape of third
already
places
unrelatable
and
content.
the problems with it. The first issue is you got to pay to be in the majority of third places, which has always been a thing, but I feel like it's more prevalent now. When getting together with friends, you usually just default to grabbing food together. Not only is it a pain to find a place that no one associates.
You ever kind of think about how the majority of like having fun in life and like doing things with your free time requires you to spend money, and then you feel kind of sad a little bit? Yeah.
It's with food poisoning trauma, but food is just so expensive now. It's not even funny. I don't have a joke for this. I'm just gonna move on.
I sound
Speaking
super
of expensive,
cute. Thank you,
a really
Blessed
popular
Shay.
third place now is
Very
boba
nice.
shops. And if you're a little bit older and you don't know what a boba
I
shop
like
is,
boba shops.
it's basically a frozen yogurt place, but the
No, it's not! No, it's not! It is not a fad! It'll stay here forever! Forever! It's not a fad! Don't say that!
inside doesn't look like Pee Wee Herman's house or the Simpsons household. I used to go to a local boba place all the time until I realized the price of boba and the sugar content were racing each.
It's no worse than coffee at Starbucks, okay? Okay? And at least they have sugar systems at boba stores, and I always get mine 50%, so fuck you!
Each other to see who would be first to bankrupt me or kill me, respectively. Another paid option is the gym, but I don't know, man.
What's your favorite boba, Lucy? I thought you would never ask, so I like to order the peach tea, and then I get it 75% sweet, and then I get extra strawberry popping boba. Thank you.
It always felt awkward having a conversation with someone while they're in the middle.
And if you work at that specific boba tea store, you can now dox me. Congratulations.
So that Chapelrone Grammy performance was pretty good.
Oh.
I'm gonna wait for you over here. I don't like this eye contact thing we're doing, dude. If
Is
you're
that Hulk
savvy,
Hogan?
you can find places to hang out at for free, but those aren't without their flaws as well. Something I like is the mall, obviously. You can walk around, watch your friends
But the mall is just a place you're supposed to spend money too!
shop or converse with the employees. Would be pretty sick if Paul Blart was here right now. I also like going to Guitar Center to mess around on every instrument in existence, but it feels weird doing that too often. They know I'm never gonna buy anything, and I feel like they don't appreciate all the 80s rock riffs I learned to impress them. Like they almost get mad when I play Sweet Child of Mine to brighten their day a little.
What's happened to human connection, man? What's happened that we can't just approach cash registers and fucking riff on the guitar for them and they don't immediately suck our dick? There's no point in living, honestly.
Sometimes instruments just aren't doing it, and you want to play with something that's alive. That's why pet stores exist. I go to a local bird store every once in a while, and it's really fun when...
A lot of pet stores are really depressing, though, especially the ones at malls, because I feel like they're run really poorly, and it's kind of like like an abusive situation for a lot of the animals at the fucking pet mall stores.
There isn't a big-ass bird practicing its eardrum-shattering techniques. I realize you didn't come here for a tour guide perspective on cheap and fun date ideas, so I should probably move on.
No, I want to know cheap and fun date ideas that I can do with Chatty.
But first, I gotta mention the park. That is like the
I think going to the mall might be a little bit difficult to arrange.
The library too, but you can't scream in there, so it's just not fun. If you work until 5, like the majority of people, you have about 20 minutes to get anywhere if you want to get there before closing time. Shoot, did I forget my... Oh, no, I got it. Damn it! This is one of the bigger problems with third places. If you're not in a major city, this shit will be closed if you stop to tie your shoelace on the way there. During COVID, a lot of places cut their hours back. Someone get these people a newspaper. That shit's over. You can close past 10 again. Since you found your way to this video, I assume you're over the age of 8, but under the age of 65, so your bedtime isn't 8 p.m. Sometimes when you're done with the main activity
Sometimes when you're eepy, you like going to bed at 8 p.m.
of the hangout, you and the boys finished building the Jelkinator. You want to grab a bite or just get out of the 200-degree apartment. You have like 4 options at this point in the night. Number 1, you can go to a bar with a prowling cougar, and I don't mean like the cool wildcat kind. Number 2, you can go to a gas station for a granola bar and chocolate milk and potentially a switchblade in your abdomen.
True.
Number 3, you can go to a drive-thru where you will never get what you order. You're just going up, basically pressing shuffle on the entire menu and praying you get something edible. Or number 4, you can go to Denny's because your local diner never fixed their shortened COVID hours. Now, if you want to go with number 4, I hope you read The Art of Persuasion beforehand, because it is such a pain to convince people to go to Denny's. I don't know why no one wants to.
Because Denny's fucking sucks. I like IHOP though.
No, it's not my fault you tried ordering Hollandaise sauce before at Denny's and it tasted like battery acid. This is Denny's. You don't take risks here. If you somehow happen to have money and you found a place that's open past 3 p.m., you still have another hurdle to get past to enjoy a third place. Since the 2000s, more and more places have been getting rid of their seating options or going fully takeout only. And this has only gotten worse because of COVID. Apparently, I'm the only
that or the seating options are fucking dirty.
Person in the world who has this gripe, but I'm gonna share it anyways to see if there are other sane people out there. I will...
Another big one is McDonald's getting rid of their play area, and like a bunch of places getting rid of their play area, because like it used to be a thing. You could go to McDonald's and have like a whole night out with your child. I remember that. I remember when my grandma would take me to McDonald's and I would be like in the slide and stuff. That was fun. They don't get to have that anymore. It's ogre. Iron Fist, thank you for 300 biddies. Do you remember having like parties at the McDonald's fucking play area? I don't think that ever happened for me, but I would see it happen to other kids. They would be like in the play area and they'd have like the little sheet cake on their table, and then they would just have their like little fucking birthday party at the McDonald's.
Never order a full pizza. I will never order food at a restaurant and then take it home and eat it. If I want to eat at home, I will just cook food. Except pizza.
Do you understand the meaning of fast food?
Is the exception to this rule. Why would I pay restaurant prices and not enjoy the experience of eating out with others? Plus, the food is soggy by the time you get home, and it comes in all these shitty containers and plastic bags.
Honestly, more times than not, I want to buy food and not eat it at the place.
Which are pretty wasteful. It takes just as long to drive and pick up your food or wait for the delivery as it does to just get off your lazy ass and cook. And that's coming from me.
No, he just called me a lazy ass. Chatty, I have to quit watching this video. He's been mean to me. Also, Iron Fist said, bro's clearly never been to a Waffle House at 4 a.m. That shit hits like nothing else. Dude, those of you who love Waffle House, can you explain the appeal to me? Because I don't get it.
I am a lazy ass.
My grandma would never let me go there.
Who likes long walks on the beach. Either eat out or don't. Why are you doing this half-assed experience of eating soggy Olive Garden at home? Staying on the topic of COVID-related reasons, some places
you went to Olive Garden. That's your own problem.
Their restaurant as storage space. and then never bothered restoring their seating. There's just boxers, containers, and DJ kits, and printers all over the tables so you can only get takeout. Guys, there are other places you can rent. You don't need to have this whole seating area if you're not going to use it. You could save money by moving into a smaller place. The sad thing is, there used to be a place where the environment was casual, the hours were chill,
I miss when places looked like this.
Was delectable. The Target Cafe. For the past 10 years, this wonder of a third place has been ripped out of Targets across the nation and replaced with Starbucks. Because
not
Starbucks
even they're doing it anymore.
Just wasn't enough. I never got to truly experience this, so I'm a little bitter. You had Pizza Hut Express, fresh popcorn.
I never experienced the Target one in specific.
Pretzels, ices, and more, all in the same place. You didn't have to wait to be seated, and if you realized, oh shoot, I gotta pick up deodorant because I got a date with this 2007 queen tomorrow, you could just walk your ass 50 feet, check out, and then come back to the hangout. Target cafes still exist here and there, but almost, I think all of the ones by me are just Starbucks.
Unrelatable content.
When I was younger, my mom would promise to get me the popcorn from the Target cafe if I was a good little boy during our shopping trip, and I don't know if I was just really forgetful and she would get us to slip out before.
Chatty, was my mother trashy? I have a question because I've been to a grocery store with one of my roommates, the teacher one, and I wanted to buy some popcorn chicken from the deli area, and so I went to buy it and I started eating it, and she looked at me like I was a fucking monster, and she said, "You're not supposed to eat it until you leave." And I said, "What? I'm gonna pay for it, so why does it matter?" And I remember back to when my mom would just let me eat and drink things from the store because we were going to pay for it at the end. But now I get treated like I'm trashy for it. Is that trashy, Chatty? Is that like my white trash experience? That's not so bad. I really struggle to see why it's a problem, but that might be our autism talking. That might be our autism talking. Like maybe it's like a secret faux pas that we're not supposed to do. It's called being hungry. Well, yeah, there's that. And if I would have a blood sugar drop in the store, there's like really no waiting for it anyway.
Or I realized, or if I was a really bad kid, but I got to have that popcorn like thrice in my life. With the way the world has changed in the past few years, it's obvious why these third places are dying out. First of all, they're expensive to keep. If people are still gonna order your food or product, why waste money on furniture, its upkeep, the labor, and all the other things associated with having a seating area? Plus,
oh my
your
God,
rent
we're
is
back to
cheaper
money
if you
again.
only have room for your kitchen and a waiting area the size of a mouse's ass cheek. The lack of seats also leads to less loitering, and it keeps out the bad crowd that you don't want hanging out in your store, which leads us to our second reason. It prevents loitering and it keeps out the bad crowd that you don't want hanging out in your store. Now, when I say bad crowd, I don't mean some homeless guy who wants a cup of water or to take a piss in a toilet. I'm talking about the broccoli head TikTok teenagers who are gonna make a mess and leave you to clean up the silly string and the overpriced
Wait, he's right.
streetwear brand stickers they leave behind. I watched a kid accidentally smash a window of a place that didn't have indoor seating because he was sitting on his e-bike eating his little cookie, so that was funny in a cosmic sort of way. The third reason, and probably the biggest, is that people don't necessarily want these places anymore. They can order food to their house. They have a home gym, a home arcade, a home theater.
Who the no, the fuck we don't. Who are these people with all that fucking money? Who the hell has a home gym? Who the fuck has a home theater? What? You do? What? How much money do you have that you have a home fucking gym? It's trashy. I'm gonna cry. I'm crying. I'm ending the stream and I'm crying. Crying myself to sleep.
A home boy, and a home office. If you do want to work outside the house, you just go to a cafe, which is why Target committed this crime against humanity. People don't need third places anymore. So they think. If you've been alive for the past 5 years, you know all too well that third places matter. Our second place, which is work or school, has been dissolved into our first place, which is home. But that still begs the question.
True.
Who's on first? With prices rising and open hours being cut back, it's getting increasingly difficult to go out. But it's still important to do so. Third places matter because first of all, they get you out of the house. Working, relaxing, and sleeping all in the same place messes with your head. Humans are not used to that. Can you imagine the world's smartest man 1,000 years ago? He would have a super long stick so he could plow the fields from the comfort of his potato sack
and he's based for it.
Bed. The second reason is that going to third places helps local businesses. Sure, a lot of the places.
What fucking local businesses? You mean like McDonald's? You have to live deep, deep, deep inside of a city to actually have a quote local business.
As I mentioned, were huge corporations, but local cafes, shopping centers, libraries, pet stores, and I don't know, comic book shops still exist. They really need your help now more than ever. And third places let you connect with others, usually with the same interests. After you finish school, making friends is no longer about having matching pencils or playing the same Flash game during a lecture.
Oh my god, is that why I haven't been able to do it?
Third places are important to the human experience. I feel like I'm in The Shining on days where I just stay at home and work all day. I go to the library every week to get out of the house while working, and I'm looking to branch off into different working spaces, so if you have any recommendations, please leave them in the comments. I visited New York City last year.
What is this filming, bro?
About all the places you can sit and how the city is basically designed to keep the hangout going. They got free seating throughout the whole city called Stoop.
Is this New York propaganda?
If I sat on the steps of someone's house here, I would have 2 holes in my chest, a lawsuit against me, and I would be getting cyberbullied when the Nest camera footage of me drops on Facebook. I want my Monk's Cafe or Groovy Smoothie that doesn't close at 9 p.m. But I guess until I find that, I'll be hanging out in parking lots,
chilling with the rats and roaches.
When we accidentally take too long buckling our seatbelts on the way somewhere. I got an Instagram now. Follow that at chon.digital. I also got clothes
guys,
and
go
other
on
stuff
Instagram.
coming soon. So just type chon.digital straight into your browser. We are at 18,000 subscribers at the time of this recording. So
let's go. Instagram is dumb. I agree. I mean, there are some people who use it, but I don't know how. It doesn't make sense to me. Okay, so this says NEET to GF Speedrun.
Mimi, Feminon, force into cashier.
Okay, so first of all, you hired a guy to read the Feminon, which is fine because if it's posted on 4chan, it's probably fake anyway.
Your job because mom got tired of my neat lifestyle. Haven't cleaned my room in weeks. Just game and goo. Mom nags me, says this job will fix me. First day, scanning groceries.
This is not how female gooners get treated by their parents. Okay? I promise you.
Avoiding small talk. Meet coworker, Andrew. Short, skinny, big glasses, oversized uniform. Apologizes constantly even when it's not his fault. Brain locks onto one thought, I want him. Start showering, wear makeup. Find excuses to talk to him.
That's fucking crazy! You think you... That's crazy. You didn't even try to see if he was okay with your feminine fucking femcel self
He's
first?
soft-spoken, fidgety, blushes when I tease him. Break room becomes my favorite part of the day. He eats his sad sandwich. I sit next to him. Do you have a girlfriend? He nearly chokes, shaking his head. Pretend I need help lifting boxes just to watch him struggle. Finally, ask him out. Actually clean my
just to watch him struggle. You're fucking evil.
room so he doesn't think I'm feral. Bring him over, sit close, kiss him. He's shy, nervous, doesn't resist.
Doesn't resist? Why is she talking like she's assaulting him?
Asks, are we together now? Smile. Yeah, you're mine now. Next day, he's even more awkward at work. Text him after shift, invite him over again. If I can land a boyfriend, so can you.
Is this what 4chaners think it's like to be a woman who has no riz? Like, is this, they think that, like, you just find the right guy and then you decide just like, oh, I'm not gonna be a femcel anymore. I'm gonna become like a Stacy and I'm gonna seduce a man in an instant. What's your excuse now, Lucy? You're right. It could be so easy. It would be so easy, actually. Yeah. Right. Just shower and then bring them to your house and then just kiss them and say, you're mine now. This poor guy, I don't think he had much choice in it. If this is a real story, this is crazy. She was your Lucy for Mortal Kombat. Oh my god! Chatty, this is exactly what I wanted people to do with this green screen. They figured it out. It's so cool. What a cute edit. Oh my god, thank you. Thank you. Why is everything so bland now? Wolf Island Master. Is this the most Lucy coded character ever? What the fuck? First of all, she doesn't look like me at all. What does it say? To me, it honestly feels like Miyu Iruma from Danganronpa version 3 and Lucy are carbon copies of each other in a good way. Their personalities are almost an exact match except for Miyu being angrier and more arrogant. Their wimpiness is similar. Wimpiness?! Their lewdness is similar. And their boob size is similar. Okay. Though I could reasonably see arguments that Teru Teru or Jill being more Lucy coded. Also, for those unfamiliar, here are some quotes from Miyu, all from chapter 2 or earlier. Good job, Kaede. Guess I shouldn't have judged you by your lackluster rack. Haha, bitch. Caught you soaking wet and red-handed. Who are you calling a dumb pig? You're welcome, Ganta. Think of me during your next tug session. By day, you're fingering piano keys, but at night, the guys are fingering you, eh? Never cook again. Never cook again. It does not sound like me. It does not sound like me. The only one that kind of sounds like me is this. This is the only one that kind of sounds like me. But the rest are, no, the rest are so not me. The rest are so not me. Carbon copies. Oh yeah, I think they meant to say carbon copy. Carbon, C-A-R-B-O-N, copy. This is Lucy without her filter. I resent the idea that you all think that I have a fucking filter in the first place. Okay, Bandai Tsundere Fidget Toy, and then 100 days solving Pokemon's evolutionary history. I don't think we'll get to watch every single one of these. However, I am extremely intrigued by the Tsundere Fidget Toy. I want to know about it.
Okay, so what is this exactly? In 2007, Bandai started releasing a
Shadi, if I released a Lucy Pyre fidget toy, would you use it? Like, what if I asked Uwu Market and I was like, what if we released a fidget toy, but every so often it would just say a random Lucy quote, so it'd be like suddenly, come! Dicks! Blah! Like that.
series of toys called Mugen ni Dekiru series, which means you can do it forever series. A series of toys that mimic the sensation
What
of
is this
things that
animation?
people just enjoy doing and want to keep doing it. For example, the Infinite Edamame, which mimics the feeling of popping an edamame bean from its pod. Of course, when you talk about edamame, you gotta have beer. So you have the Infinite
Whoa,
Beer
I didn't know edamame was so big in Japan.
can to give you the sensation of opening a can of beer. Other toys are the Infinite Tearing, that mimics opening a box of snacks, the Infinite Tokoroten, that mimics squeezing Tokoroten noodles out of a Tokoroten cutter,
What the
and
fuck?
the Infinite Chocolate, that mimics breaking a square of a Meiji chocolate bar.
Actually, wait, that would actually be based. How do I get that one?
Very first one that ever came out, and the most popular one, is the Mugen Puchi Puchi, which translates to Infinite Bubble Wrap. So the way Mugen Puchi Puchi works is that you have 8 buttons on its face, and
8
it
buttons?
mimics the sensation of popping bubble wrap.
Many such
due to
cases for
following
fidget
the
toys.
specifications of the actual trademarked bubble wrap by Japanese company Kawakami Sangyo. The size of the buttons and the spacing between them are the same as an actual sheet of bubble wrap. Even the sound that comes when you press the button is sampled from this specific bubble wrap being popped. Now, there is a little special detail on Kawakami Sangyo bubble wrap sheets. 1 in 10,000 bubbles is shaped like a heart. And the creators of the toy wanted to mimic that in a way. So every 100 button presses, you get a random noise. A fart.
What the fuck?
A doorbell.
What the fuck?
A dog, etc. Now, this toy was quite popular. It took 5 months from its release day, August 8th, also known as Bubble Wrap Day in Japan, to sell 1 million units. Okay, so you have a successful toy, everyone likes popping bubble wrap, so everyone's getting it. What is the next logical step to take? Anime girls, of course!
Of course!
Mugen Puti Moe. The Moe Anime Girl Bubble Wrap Fidget Toy by Bandai started production and
this is a missed opportunity. They should have put her face on each of the buttons.
released in 2008. Now, you've seen the title of the video. It is a Tsundere Bubble Wrap Fidget Toy. You might be asking, what is so special?
Okay, so the first one says, Sawaranai deyo, so don't touch me. And this one says, Dai kirai, like I hate you. And then the third one is hentai, so you're pervert. Oh. And then the last one is arigato. What's she saying thank you for? Interesting. I don't know what the fuck it means by onedari boisu, but that says Betsuni sabishiku nai wa yo. It's not like I'm lonely or anything. Does it talk to you when you haven't touched it in a while? Is that what that is?
It is just a toy that comes with a cute anime girl on the packaging? Not quite. It makes use of the sound system to portray a tsundere character as you pop more and more bubbles. Every 50 pops, you get...
Hold on. No, it is Sawaranai. It's not Furanai. Well, it could be, but I'm pretty sure I heard it at the beginning and she said Sawaranai. Am I crazy?
What is so special about this?
I'm being backseat Japanese right now.
Cute anime girl on the packaging? Not quite. It makes use of the sound system to portray a tsundere character as you pop more and more bubbles. Every 50 pops, you get a spoken line. It starts with...
She literally said Sawa.
Next comes... After that we get... And finally, in the end, we get... That's nice, isn't it? That's a nice tsundere. I quite like that.
This feels so... sensual.
But there's more! To up the moe factor of the toy, if you stop playing with it and leave it there, after 15 seconds, it plays a line pleading you to pick it up again. Moe, right? And if that voice sounds a little bit familiar...
Shadi, you wouldn't buy this? Then you wouldn't buy my fidget toy.
When we talk about tsunderes, of course we talk about Kogimiya Rie, who gave her voice...
Oh my god! Generational bitch player
to this character. Now, this is nice and all, but what if you don't like tsunderes? What if you prefer something else? Let's say a maid character, a childhood friend character, a little sister character.
Oh,
yeah.
Chatty.
Yes, they did more than one version of the toy to widen their target audience of otaku. And of course, every character had their own lines. The childhood friend starts with... Next is...
Okay.
Afterwards...
Oh, cute.
And lastly...
Oh my god, this is fulfilling everything for me. This is
You leave her for 15 seconds.
This is all my criteria.
Says, and she is...
What? Bro, if you stop touching her, she fucking cucks you.
Voiced by Kogimiya Rie. The maid starts with... Follows with... Next is... And her last line is... If you leave her for 15 seconds,
Could I get
she
a
says...
Lucy Pyre fidget toy?
And she is voiced by Kogimiya Rie.
Yes.
The little sister starts with... Follows with...
Oh.
Third one is... And the last one is... And if you leave her for 15 seconds, she says... And surprise, she is voiced by Kugimiya Rie. And this is pretty much what the toy itself is. According to an interview with one of the makers of the Mugen Puchi Puchi toys, having Kugimiya Rie, who is known for her tsundere roles, play other type of characters that she's not so used to, adds value to these toys. Now, I don't know about that, but these interviews are a bit interesting to me. The reason they added moe to the toy is because they were trying to achieve the youth-mate healing. They claim it is not in any way an indecent product. But then they say that there is a sexiness to it?
Are you kidding me? It's indecent as fuck! Dude, you know guys have this in their left hand and they're like pushing the buttons and then like what's their other hand doing? Probably trying to max their ELO in League of Legends, I don't know.
That anyone could notice? In terms of shape and the soft feeling in your hands. Okay, I could make a jab at this, but you know what? I'm convinced. And also, the toy Puppet that has a very similar concept, 100% you've seen this before. The idea for the toy was born from when one of the creators dreamed of a large field of breasts.
What?
Ladies' breasts that you can push the nipple.
No, that's fair.
Do a carpet of nipples where you can push from one side to the other.
A carpet of nipples. Okay, fuck you. Don't ever cook again.
The feeling is universal, I guess. The reason why you get a voice in 50 presses instead of 100 is because of what they call double speed moe. The pleading voices when you leave the toy alone are to make you pick it up again and become even more addicted and end up with the highest form of healing popping. On another interview, when asked why do people like popping bubble wrap, he says it's human instinct. Like when they see a hole, they want to put their finger in it. Cool example.
Is that true?
But he himself wasn't very keen on moe. Understandable, he is just a toy maker. He did say he wanted a female teacher version of the toy though.
Yeah,
so
he's like, I want to add my own personal fetishes in here. We're missing a female teacher.
All the moe elements to the moe experts. Staff of a now defunct blog hosting website called Anime Shimasenka, they decided the archetypes, the personalities, the sentences, and even put in motion advertising websites where you could download wallpapers and visit the characters' blogs.
Oh my god.
There was blogs. Each
That's
character
so cute,
had
though.
their own personal blog where almost every day for over a year they posted in there, treating it as a personal diary as if they were real people. And together they had
This was pioneering VTubing.
over 1,800 posts. And it is actually
Holy
interesting
shit!
to see because it does end up developing the characters. The bubble wrap fidget toy characters. For example, the childhood friend blog, who goes by Saya, starts with her childhood friend canceling the plans she had with him on Christmas.
Oh
And
my
she
god,
even
what an
goes on a
asshole.
rant, like,
少しは私の気持ち分かってほしいな。いつも振り回されるのは私ばっかり。遅刻ばかりするから毎日私が早起きして起こしに行ってあげてるのにちっとも起きてくれないし、起きたと思えばいきなり服を脱ぎ出して私の焦る姿を見て。
Oh, wait. Wait, I want to read this book.
楽しんだり、キスしてくれなくちゃまた寝ちゃう。とか、服着せてくれなくちゃ学校行かない。とか、
Oh, you're being
いつも
sexually
ネクタイ
harassed.
曲がってるし、ハンカチも持っていかないし、と改めて考えるとよく我慢してるな。私、幼馴染じゃなければとっくに見放してるんだけどな。
later on, verse
You know what? Not to sound like a victim blamer, but if you're still going to like wake him up when he like gets naked down to his dick and he says, I'm not going to school unless you dress me, and you keep going to him, I'm sorry, but you're clearly into it.
even a whole Valentine Day's arc, where she plans to confess when giving him the chocolate, sees him with another girl, sees chocolate in his bag, runs away.
Why is this NTR?
Avoids him for days and he breaks into her room to explain the situation. Also, she likes cooking 100 yen shops and sticky foods like natto and okra.
Oh my god, he's Edward fucking Cullen, bro. This is crazy.
Which is why her blog link has okra in the name. The maid blog is quite peaceful. The girl who goes by Yukino lives in her master's mansion with her parents who work there.
It's me, I'm the master, by the way.
She does perform as a maid, but her main occupation is being a college student. She likes Haniwa statues and is quite clumsy. She does seem to be conscious of her master, but don't think she would be a good match for him due to her position. But you know how it is, it's quite obvious we have something for each other. She gives him Valentine chocolate, although he received a ton of them, but she received Haniwa-shaped cookies in return.
Oh, to be a fucking cute maid girl in an anime who has a kind master in love with you, and their name is Chatty, and they give you cookies, and then they think of you, and then you get to call them Goshujin-sama, and then they nade you, they give you head pats, and then they support you as you go to school.
Handmaid. They throw her parents a secret party, he throws her a secret birthday party, and even gives her a jewel, amethyst. In a way, it just feels like we're flirting. Also, it's funny, because the blogs sometimes break the fourth wall and they start talking about the Mugen Puchi Puchi Moe toys. The childhood friend plays with her own toy, and there's also mentions of OT.
If I said without context, girl plays with her toys, what would you assume?
The Mugen Puchi Puchi Wii for the WiiWare, where you can have all of the bubble popping with not much of the satisfaction. But at the very least, there is a Tsundere mode in the game as well.
Wait, who is this girl?
Okay, this is a thing, I guess. Talking about tsunderes, the Tsundere blog shows that her name is Rin, and she wanted to learn how to use the internet.
Of course, all tsunderes are named
Rin. She meets a boy who she calls that guy, who at first told her to Google it. She didn't understood what that meant, of course, and she kicked him when he explained it. But then he started teaching her how to use a computer.
When you forget that it's an anime, tsunderes always come across as huge bitches who should be locked up forever.
Properly. Her main objective was to research how to make a picture book, since she really likes them, but she keeps the fact that she wants to make one a secret. Most of the blog is lost in time, but there is a really nice arc. She started making a scarf for her dad as a Christmas gift, but she made another one for no reason at all. She was invited to a Christmas party where people would exchange gifts. She was meant to give one to someone she didn't know, so of course, with a spare scarf on her hands, she gifts that person chicken roast, because she would be happy to receive a chicken roast. When returning from the party, she by accident sees that guy outside and decides to lend him the spare scarf because he looked cold like—
I just so happen to have an extra scarf that's perfectly fitting around your neck and matches the clothes that you tend to wear by accident.
Like a dog left in the rain, so it was from pity and definitely not a gift. And after handing him the scarf, she runs away, but he gets
This is such a complicated story.
And gives her a keychain that for some reason he had one to gift, just like that. And she accepts because it would have been a waste to not receive things given to you. And she starts using it. Oh, youth. And the interesting thing is, because this is a blog, of course we receive comments. And people played along with it, teasing Rin about everything. And she kept posting these blog posts, as if responding to these comments. It is quite an interesting way to present a story. Personally, I think it's the first time I've seen something like this. As for the little sister character, she goes by Kosuzu and lives alone with her mother. Her father is probably dead, but she doesn't know about it. She blue screened the computer on her school and starts going to the Oni-chan's house.
Oh my god, actually true. This is real. This person actually has a little sister, because the blue screening, the computer is so real, so true. And then they're like, can I use yours?
Next door to borrow his computer and created a blog for practice purposes. He's not actually her brother, just an older guy who she calls Oni-chan.
What the fuck? That's worse. You may think that made it better, but that actually made it worse. She's just going to some random fucking guy's house?
The interesting thing about her Oni-chan is that he's an otaku and she slowly starts getting accustomed to otaku-related stuff, though she doesn't seem to understand much. One time she tried playing as a Tsundere, but that was hard, so she planned on becoming a Yandere. When she told her Oni-chan about it...
Oh my god, I thought he said Nyandere. I was like, is that like a yandere cat girl?
He told her, I would probably be loved to death. And she thinks that's incredible, as she doesn't really get it. One time, the Oni-chan has been playing a game he just bought the whole time, and she complains that she wants him to play with her. But then she notes one of the girls in the dancing and singing game has a voice similar to hers, so she tries imitating her going... And this was posted in the same day Idolmaster Live for You launched in Japan. At one point, her classmate also starts going to his house. It is that sort of setting. But of course, all the blogs stopped updating and there really wasn't any conclusion in any of them. I guess they decided the campaign was over and just left it like that. Going back to the
This is so sad. We need to know what happened to Emoto.
This got a prize. First place on the trendy toy category on the first Japan Toy Awards that happened in 2008. But it feels like a team project.
This is really interesting though, to know that Japan had all these fidget toys so much earlier and then like they suddenly became popular in the West out of nowhere several years later.
Prize, where the other people do all the hard work, because the prize was given to the whole Mugen ni Dekiru series, including the normal Mugen Puchi Puchi and the Mugen Edamame. In a Bandai document, by May 2009,
that's a lot of
the
sales.
Mugen Puchi Puchi series was estimated to have sold 2.5 million units, and the Mugen Edamame 1.8 million units. But I don't know what the numbers for the Moe Puchi are. In
a billion, probably.
They estimated 300,000 sales in 3 months. But I never saw them boasting about achieving this, so either the numbers are included in the Mugen Puchi Puchi 2.5 million units, or making this quirky little toy focusing on the otaku and the
It is Sawanai. Okay, the other font is weird.
word moe that was popular at the time didn't pan out as they hoped. What I do know, though, is some people remember this little toy as a bit nostalgic, and if they find it while cleaning their belongings,
Chatty,
they
it's my
probably
dream
play
now
with
to
it
buy
a
one
little
of
bit
these and get one.
Then never touch it ever again. Because honestly, looking back to everything that
Crazy recommendation right there. Absolutely insane. Insane! Which one? I don't know. You mean the fidget toys? The fidget toys? I don't fucking know. I think... Of course I should get the Emoto one, right? Should I get the Emoto one? Okay, Chatty. You pick right now. We can watch... one of these. Either 100 Days Solving Pokemon's Evolutionary History, or the Why Is Everything So Bland Now? It is up to you. Which one is longer? They're like similar! They're like similar, bro. They're similar. Yeah, run the fucking poll. Run the poll. I vote Pokemon, honestly. Okay, I'm saying Pokemon mostly. So, yeah. I think we're getting Pokemon.
Have you
We're
ever wondered
Pokemon
how the world
filled!
of Pokemon works?
Yes.
Like how its ecosystem works, and how each creature came to be through the power of science or whatever other forces exist in their world.
Yeah.
I've wondered this for a long time, which is why I've spent
Why are the mods so bad at controlling polls, by the way?
the last 3 months going through every Pokedex entry and diving deep into the real-world study of comparative biology and phylogenetics to determine the most scientific and lore-accurate origins
I don't
of
like that.
every
I don't like
Pokemon
that
in the
voice
entire
overlay.
Pokemon kingdom. God is real, and he has forsaken us.
So is the Pokemon God Arceus or Mew? Have we figured that out yet? Have people decided?
world of Pokemon. A spinning globe of wonderment, home to an infinite array of creatures
Arceus.
too varied to fully comprehend.
Mew is a false deity.
perhaps thousands,
First time I'll ever agree with you.
meticulously fashioned by the forces of nature in all its glory as only nature can. That's it. The intro's over. I just really...
Mew is the first ever Pokemon, but not the god. You understand how that doesn't make fucking sense, right? Like, you understand how if you're the first ever Pokemon, but you're not the god, that's not true. That would make the god the first ever Pokemon if it's still classed as a Pokemon.
really wanted to do that. Anyway, Pokemon origins. While the vast majority of Pokemon we see in-game did in fact evolve naturally into their various species from a single common ancestor, just like in the real world, not all of them are as naturally occurring in the way you'd think.
No, it's like Adam and God, which is crazy! How can you class Adam and God in the same fucking species as a Pokemon?
I began my research by going through the in-game lore, taking into account some aspects of the anime and the manga to find out what the established lore of Pokemon actually is, and it's way more insane than you'd think. To begin the origins of Pokemon, I need you to hold my hand and have an open mind as we
I'm
walk
sorry,
into
I
a
can
bout
only
of
hold hands
biblical
with Chatty.
speculation on creationism. So before we get biological, let's get a little religious.
Oh.
There is a confirmed canon creation myth to the world of Pokemon, and it goes a little
They're
like
about to
this.
explain it to
In
me.
the beginning, there was the great egg. When it hatched, the first Pokemon Arceus was born. Arceus created existence itself in its first act, serving as the catalyst for the birth of all things.
Uh-huh.
Arceus began creating creatures in waves to expand existence, and with the first generation of creations, Arceus made the creation trio. Dialga, the ruler of time, Palkia, the ruler of space, and Giratina, the ruler of antimatter. Each creature created
What
their
the fuck
own
is
dimensions,
antimatter anyway?
that of time, space, and a place known as the Distortion World, respectively. But these weren't enough for life to exist. Past this point, I'll be taking some speculatory positions based on in-lore evidence. In the next
The opposite of matter? Does that mean it doesn't exist? It's nothingness? He's the god of nothing?
generation of creations, Arceus needed to bring about a more complex design, so they created Unknown to serve as a sort of programming language of the universe. The Unknown were given their own dimension of
What? I don't understand! Chatty, you need to give me a science lessons right now. What the fuck is antimatter?
vast psychic power, allowing them to create illusions and form the blueprint of creation. We see this dimension whenever the creation trio rips holes in the fabric of reality.
It destroys matter if it comes in contact with it? Is that like me with like a Panda Express Kung Pao chicken? I destroy that when I touch it.
And Unknown are vastly more powerful in their home according to the in-game text in the Pokedex. So I believe that these commonalities with the creation trio
Okay,
and their
I get
unique
it now.
abilities and home plane point to them being creations of Arceus. Arceus then brought about the rulers of land, sea, and sky, Groudon, Kyogre,
I wonder what
and
Giratina's
Rayquaza.
favorite
While
fast
Groudon and
food is.
Kyogre rapidly formed the lands and oceans of the world as they fought, their fighting was always quelled by
Favorite. Dude, people love making videos of Kyogre and Groudon and Rayquaza bitching at each other.
Rayquaza, whom descended from its home in the upper atmosphere to ensure the bickering ceased. As the lands began to take shape, Arceus brought about a great and powerful titan, Regigigas, to tow the continents in place by hand, bringing
I hate that
variety to the
dumbass
land masses
Pokemon.
and seas alike. And finally, to serve as its servants and envoys, Arceus created Latios and Latia. I almost said Latinas. I just love Latinas, Sonic. To serve as its most trusted envoys, Arceus created Latios and Latias. A little known fact about these Pokemon, they're actually known as the Aeon Pokemon, leading me to believe they're based on Aeons, angels from the Gnostic religion that always come in pairs of male and female. Latios and Latias possess the power to communicate with any living creature telepathically
Crazy
or
theory.
emotionally, and are able to shapeshift to humans.
That's
even,
fucking
and are able to move
crazy.
at great speeds to be the perfect servants of their lord, like divine messengers of Arceus. In the third generation, Arceus brought about the beginnings of life on the planet. They brought about the four forces of nature to establish weather and the cycle of seasons.
Is that a real fucking Pokemon? It's so ugly.
On the
It's so ugly.
brought about the
I don't
four
remember
forces of
seeing this
nature
one.
to
No, hold on,
establish-
hold on. This one looks ugly as shit. What the fuck is that?
Weather and the cycle of seasons. They brought about the duo of life and death to begin and end the life cycle, and brought about their guardian to ensure the life cycle and wider ecosystem stay
They're
balanced.
new ones? Wrong.
Arceus then created
That should not
Mew, who was
exist.
the first Pokemon to populate the world in vast numbers and would be the ancestor of almost all Pokemon that followed. Lastly, in this generation, Celebi was created. Now, this claim is contentious
Celebi is
because
literally
some
just
people believe
celery.
Dialga created Celebi due to Dialga being the ruler of time. However, at no point do we witness Dialga create life in canon, so I believe Celebi was created by Arceus for a different purpose. Celebi is a being
Are you
of
gonna
purity, which
elaborate?
can move through time, purifying the world at all points it can find the corruption of darkness in. I believe that Arceus, knowing that in order for the universe to exist, Arceus must himself be born, created the Great Egg and tasked Celebi with delivering it to before existence, knowing that Celebi is a being of purity that
The funniest fucking thing about Arceus is that despite being the god of all Pokemon, it's not the best Pokemon in existence.
could trust. Arceus essentially used the bootstrap paradox to create the world with the help of Celebi. The last generation that Arceus brought about served as gifts to the now blossoming world full of thousands of
captured by a
incredible creatures
10-year-old
known as
hydration.
Pokemon. These gifts were the Wish Granters and Guardians of Fate, known as Yuxi, the bringer of knowledge, Azelf, the bringer of willpower, Mesprit, the bringer of emotions.
I think these, I'm not gonna lie, okay, I like the 4th gen, I like Sinnoh. I think these designs are super uninspired, bland, and boring as fuck. I never gave a fuck about these legendaries.
Jirachi, the bringer of wishes, and Ho-Oh, the bringer of rebirth. But not Lugia. These creatures all brought their gifts to the inhabitants of the world, and so after many eons passed, we arrive in the modern day. Why did Arceus grant us these gifts? I don't know. Idea. God spent 90% of the movie screaming justice and then nuking the planet, bombing children like his name's Benjamin Roethlisberger, that is. He dropped
should watch
the
this
bomb, Hail
movie.
Mary, touchdown! Pokemon from outer space and alternate dimensions.
Deoxys! I think Deoxys has a really cool design.
Ghost World. And you know what? There's actually a lot of Pokemon from a lot of places. I've covered all of the God-created Pokemon, but there are actually dozens of Pokemon that don't even come from Earth, or were created intentionally by other Pokemon, or were made by complete accident. For example, several Pokemon come from space, like Eternatus and the Clefairy, and everybody knows that Deoxys came from space. But did you know that Deoxys and Staryu most likely come from the same organism? While both Pokemon come from
Such
space,
dumb
the
Pokemon to be from
similarities run
space.
much deeper than that. Both of their bodies are completely replaceable, as the only organ in their body is their crystal core. They can regenerate any part of this body except for their cores, which serve as the brains.
Are you saying that the core of Deoxys is a
They can regenerate any part
Staryu?
of this body except for their cores, which
Like gasp.
serve as the brains. And both creatures are capable of immense psychic ability, especially after Staryu evolves into Starmie. So I posit that the psychic space virus that Deoxys comes from takes the shape of its crystalline core and has since branched off into both species of Pokemon, wherever in space they come from.
I like
Pokemon also
Deoxys'
come from other
tentacles.
dimensions, such as the
For
Ultra
no
Beasts
reason.
coming from the Ultra Dimension, which is like our
They're just
dimension, but
interesting.
sponsored by Red Bull.
God,
Now that everyone over the
Cynthia's
age
so
of 30
hot.
and balding is terrified, let's talk about the Paradox Pokemon. Paradox Pokemon come from the Paradox Dimensions, which, while I'm at it, let me clarify a common misconception. Paradox Pokemon are not from another time.
Real?
Paradox
I did
Pokemon
my part.
aren't actually from the past and future. That's why they're called Paradox Pokemon. They literally can't exist in the normal Pokemon world naturally. Instead, they were clearly pulled from prehistoric and futuristic alternate dimensions using a dimension-shattering machine powered by a crystal turtle
Of
made
course,
by a
as you
robot
do.
modeled
Yeah.
after Spanish
Yeah.
Gordon Ramsay's parent.
God, I fucking hated the whole plot of this game.
Obviously. There are also some minor miscellaneous dimensions that the games don't actually go into depth on, like whatever alternate reality Hoopa came from, or the World of Spirits, which is mentioned in several Pokedex entries and shown twice in the anime. So there's
love
nothing
the
really to
ghost
explain about
Pokemon
them other
lore.
than that they exist, and here's a bunch of Pokemon that are from there. As for artificial Pokemon, humans have created a ton of them, so I won't explain them just yet in the video, but let's go over some examples. Although stay tuned, because I made something awesome that will explain them all. I promise this video covers every Pokemon. Some Pokemon were created intentionally by ancient civilizations, such as guardians like Golett, Golurk, and most likely Sigilyph. They're based on Nazca lines, so they're probably artificial. While others were
Sigilyph
created
is not
in the modern
real.
day,
I hate
like
that
Porygon.
Pokemon.
Porygon
Dumb
was
shit.
actually first discovered in the ancient past of Hisui, where they fell through a time distortion portal into the past from the modern day, which means the idea for creating them in the
Porygon's
future
so
came from the
cute.
past, which means they themselves are a massive paradox of creation, which is pretty fun actually. Mewtwo was made by splicing the DNA of Mew, but splicing with what? Human DNA.
Ooh.
Human DNA being the DNA
Wait, what
of what
fucking
I call
movie
the
is that?
evolutionary
Is that a movie?
Pokemon, but we'll get to humans being Pokemon canonically later. Human DNA is what causes Mewtwo to desire to create new Pokemon, and because humans are so versatile, that's likely why Mewtwo
Whoa, this guy is showing copyrighted material. Is he safe? That's a great question. I'm honestly surprised this video is still up, considering Nintendo.
possesses multiple Mega Evolutions and a more human personality and
I think this Mega Evolution looks ugly as hell. I think this one makes Mewtwo look arousing. Is that weird?
shape than Mew. In the in-game text, it's referenced that Mewtwo's DNA was actually spliced to Mew DNA, and in the manga, we see that Dr. Fuji, who is also referenced in-game as being in charge of the Mewtwo project, and Dr. Blaine, the gym leader, used Dr.
It's not weird! It's not weird! It's the smoothness.
Blaine's DNA as the DNA spliced with Mew. I think some version of these events are also canon in-game, as they produce the same result, which is a more human-shaped Pokemon, Mewtwo. But wait, I also believe that every failed attempt at cloning Mew prior to the DNA splicing resulted in Ditto, a self-replicating Pokemon that can't breed with itself
Ditto is also a very compelling Pokemon for no real reason.
because it instead duplicates via mitosis. Ditto is only found in the ruins of the Mewtwo Project Lab in the Kanto region, and it's the only Pokemon that can transform like Mew. Plus, they're both pink with light blue shinies, so in my opinion, it's pretty clear that that's where Ditto comes from. Some Pokemon weren't created by humans, though. Some were created by legendaries. Ho-Oh granted the gift of rebirth to the legendary beasts when they died in the Brass Tower fire. Regigigas also created the legendary Titans in its loneliness and boredom with the materials it could find in nature, which were the elemental energies, but I'll get into those in a little bit when I explain why type has nothing to do with Pokemon phylogenetics. Other artificially created Pokemon were complete accidents, like the Grimer line. They were made when, quote, industrial sludge in a stream came in contact with X-rays from the moon.
The extreme majority of Pokemon created after 2002 suck design-wise. There are 1,000 Redditors who want to buy their opinion back from you.
Well, at least the Grimer line got an explanation, even if it's a stupid one. Charcadet's dex entry says that it was made when, quote, burnt charcoal came to life and became a Pokemon.
I hate this thing. I hate that thing.
I'm also saying something. That's not even the most insane one, though. Here's how Vanillite was born. When the morning sun hit an icicle, it wished not to melt, and thus Vanillite was born. This implies inanimate objects have desire in the Pokemon universe, but we're going to ignore that while determining the origins of every Pokemon for the sake of my therapist. If you add up all biblical, extraterrestrial, and artificial Pokemon together,
how can there be so many involved in the
100,
creation?
But I promised at the beginning of the video to cover all 1,000 plus Pokemon, and I will. That's because I'm about to give you all 900 plus remaining origins at once, and every extraterrestrial and artificial Pokemon I haven't covered yet. And I'm actually gonna give you a free digital poster I made while I'm at it. You see, for the last couple months, I've been deeply researching real-world phylogenetics, which is the study of the evolutionary history of organisms, to determine what
You know it's gonna be a banger video when it has you looking at like Wikipedia articles and shit.
Pokemon would evolve and branch off into new species over time based on their analogous species in our world. And I did all of this for the sake of making an incredible chart of every Pokemon's origin. Also, yes, I do plan to release a new version every time a new game comes out. Because I'm never truly done with this video, I guess. Let's start by establishing what criteria matter for categorization. For one, the word evolution as it's used in game isn't actually evolution as it's known in biology. When a Charmander evolves into a Charmeleon and then again into a Charizard, and then they mate and produce an egg with another Charizard, what hatches from the egg is a Charmander. Therefore, each Pokemon in a living evolutionary line is part of the same species. The Pokemon aren't evolving, they're actually metamorphosizing. They do this through—
What's the fucking... What's the difference? What's the difference?
Epigenetics, which is when something, be an external stressor or internal change, basically speaking, causes a creature to become a new form.
There's a huge difference? It's not literal evolution like in real life. It's not literal like in real life.
Often one less energy efficient, but more
It's
capable
fucking
of
Pokemon
self-defense,
evolution.
like me emerging from my basement at 3 a.m. to eat a fistful of yogurt and shredded cheese to assume my final form. Or like a caterpillar turning into a cocoon and then
Oh, Chatty, when he immediately uses the metaphor that everybody in chat starts using.
emerging as a butterfly. Oh, nice. Game Theory actually has a fantastic video talking about this exact thing, so I'll link that in the description. I'm pretty sure those little guys could use the views much more than a big shot like, when were there 3,000 of you? Where did you people—
But that means that it's the fault of the Pokemon devs for calling it evolution.
come from? 2 months ago I had 200! How did you people find me? I promise I'll get back to Pokemon in a moment. I just really need to thank all of you from the bottom of my heart for the amount of kind comments and support I've gotten over the past couple weeks. It's been unreal, and I really appreciate it. But I'll get back to Pokemon because I'll save the gushing for another time. Blah, blah, blah. Who even is that guy? We want Pokemon. It's Pokemon time. Back to Pokemon. The second consideration we need to take is that these are Pokemon, not real-world animals. So there are some facts us professional biologists are just gonna have to accept. All Pokemon that can mate lay eggs, regardless of if they're an insect, a reptile, a mammal, a plant, an ice cream cone, a washing machine,
Which is pretty crazy when you think about it.
We just have to accept that and move on. Also, when some Pokemon metamorphosize, they take on a wild amount of new traits, like like gaining more limbs or appearing to become an entirely new class of creature. But because not all Pokemon have to evolve, since there are many examples of the lowest form of a Pokemon aging and passing away without ever undergoing a metamorphosis,
I have a question about like the nurseries where you would put your Pokemon. I never ever saw like a fucking place big enough to hold my Whalmer. It's always like a little tiny pond. And you're telling me that mine were able to mate and make a baby? I just want to know how you like. Never mind.
We're going to have to base the phylogenetic classification of each Pokemon on their first forms. However, we will take into account later forms if metamorphosis is an actual part of
the
their life cycle.
lion does not concern itself with Wailord mating is crazy.
That means that this is a fish, which means that this is also a fish. This is a fish, okay? It's a fish. You understand a little bit of my pain now, but that doesn't change that this is a fish.
It's
no
totally
matter
a
how hard
fish.
we wish it wasn't. Also, some Pokemon are actually multiple creatures, making up a single Pokemon able to be captured by a single Pokeball, such as Paris, who is the bug part of the Pokemon themselves, but are infested by
This thing would scare the shit out of me in real
Tandemaus
life.
and Mousehold are a great example of two
It's
or more
chat.
creatures that together make a single Pokemon, and so are Phalanx,
Ratty
but my
chatty.
favorite example of this is Deerling and Sawsbuck. They're actually normal-type Pokemon whose antlers are infested by plant life, allowing them to photosynthesize, so it's symbiosis that gives them their grass typing. Lastly, Pokemon type wasn't factored into the phylogenetic path of Pokemon because type appears to be based on elemental energies present in the world of Pokemon, which influence the power a species develops over time. This means rapid changes in type can quickly occur between classifications, kind of like how real-world species can quickly adapt to their environment through survival of the fittest. Now, without further ado,
Oh my god.
behold
It's all been
the
thought through. Can you believe it? The people at Nintendo, they knew what they were doing.
I'm actually really proud of this chart, which took real months away from my life and is packed
Jesus
full of
Christ,
detail
bro.
and includes the origins
Jesus
of every
Christ.
Pokemon we've talked about so far at the top, and more, along with the explanations for why they're there, as well as just a ton of fun facts scattered throughout. Before I dive too deep into the chart, though, I need to do my due diligence on behalf of actual scientists and clear some common misconceptions. For one, the further we go up from the tree from the origin of life, it does not mean that organisms are becoming more complex or more evolved. This chart is purely meant to show common ancestry in Pokemon with nodes and branches that indicate what Pokemon is more closely related to another. However, because there's only a little over 1,000 Pokemon at the time of this video, the number of connections is a bit misleading in some cases, because I can't fill the chart with the millions and millions of dividing species we have in the real world. I chose this format of chart because it's much more visibly appealing and pretty to look at as a poster. If I wanted it to be as accurate as possible, it would have looked like this, which would have been equally challenging and way less fun to look at.
I can't read that
Also,
shit.
I'm going to try to show the chart as much as I can, but it's 100 megabytes, so whenever I put it in Premiere Pro, I risk detonating the city block around me. To help with the creation of the cladogram, I had to consult with my resident expert in the field of biology, my friend Professor Kenny. As a deeply knowledgeable and self-described phylogenetics and comparative biology enthusiast, he and I were able to have incredibly complex and nuanced conversations about the taxonomy of Pokemon.
So slime molds are these things that can spread out like that and send tentacle shoots out.
I do like that Shuckle
I think
being a
that's
slime
what
mold.
Shuckle's based off of. Okay, that being said, if we're actually
There's serious shit happening in the Discord call right now. Shut the fuck up.
eyes or a shell.
Shut the fuck up. Well, the shell. As we learned going through the roster of all Pokemon, appearances can be deeply deceiving in the Pokemon world. What you may believe is an eye like Graphii is actually classified as Scandentia because it comes from Shroodle, which is actually a species adjacent to our real world's tree shrews. And when you look at them long enough, you can kind of see
It's
it.
kinda
Then there's
cute,
a seemingly
honestly.
straightforward shot like Wailord, who seems like a whale,
We
but
love
has the fin
Wailord.
structure of a shark, lateral swimming like a whale, no dorsal fin at all.
I
unlike
love how
modern
round it
whale,
is.
And while it acts like a baleen whale, it has teeth. Horrifying teeth. We still
Yeah.
concluded it's a cetacean, like whales, dolphins, and porpoises of some kind, but most similar to the real-world Georgicadus, but it's honestly a bit more nuanced than that. In a similar vein, Dondozo, the big catfish Pokemon, has a horizontal tail that it uses
I
to
don't
swim
like that
up
at
and
all.
down like a whale, unlike fish who have vertical tails and swim side to side. To be fair though, it does use this weird vertical tail to swim side to side, and it has gills, so it's safe to say it's a fish, but this inconsistency annoyed the shit out of me and my friend. Because I love these fun facts, I'll give you my favorite one. Clam pearl is a fish, not a clam. The first egg that hatches releases the fully developed protective shell that guards the still developing
No one
Pokemon.
likes catfish,
The
it's true.
pearl is actually an eel egg. This eel egg hatches after environmental factors turn it into a fully grown eel.
I don't
as
like
we can
looking
see
at
in
clam
Gorbis
pearl.
and
I always
Hubtail,
hated
and when
that
compared
Pokemon
side
as a
by side
kid.
with real eel eggs, that theory actually is pretty clearly true. The more we explored options through the Pokedex, the titles of Pokemon became extremely misleading, like how Cradilly is called the barnacle Pokemon despite being a crinoid, making it an echinoderm and not a
It's not
crustacean,
even a
and therefore
barnacle!
not a barnacle, which, if you didn't know, are animals and are closely related to crabs. Orthworm is named Orthworm the Earthworm Pokemon. Despite being called Orthworm the Earthworm, it has an exoskeleton
I can't
and
decide
6
if I
legs,
love or
making it a
hate it, though.
caterpillar. We
What is the
almost
original
even
video?
classified
It
them
should
as
have been
pseudopods
pinned.
and
I don't know
called
what
them
happened
mollusks,
to
but
it.
I stopped us from doing that before the madness could strip us of our mortal flesh. Going back to the chart, I'd like to introduce you to a completely new classification of life at the bottom, a group I call Expira Vitae. These Pokemon are literally born from death, as some Pokemon need to die in order for new Pokemon to be born. Some of these Pokemon come from dead dogs, like Greavard, and some come from unspecified spirits, like Honedge and Bramblin, and some Pokemon,
I like Honedge a lot.
Ghastly and Phantom, come from humans.
Love Ghastly
like
and
Professor
Phantom!
Magnolia any day now. My favorite of these Expira Vitae are Frostlass and Glalie, which are both
Have they
the
ever
evolutions
even
of
missed with a
Snorunt,
ghost
but
Pokemon?
Snorunt isn't actually the origin of the Pokemon line. You see, Glalie and Frostlass are both born from humans that got lost and died in frozen environments like mountaintops. Then, when they breed, they produce Snorunt, which can evolve into either of them based on gender. This is the only example of a Pokemon evolution actually being the origin species, which bred a fully living species of Pokemon that can turn into either of them, which is fascinating. However, Expira Vitae are not all ghost types, or ghosts in general. Cryogonal are the spirits of people who died on snowy mountains as well, but
Wait,
they
that's just the
actually
same
aren't
fucking
ghost
thing.
type. On the flip side, several ghost types like Mischievous, Sableye, and Skeledirge
They
are
really
fully
said, let's
living
make
and
the same
breathing
fucking
beings who
Pokemon,
eat
but
food
ugly
to
and
survive
worse.
and are not spirits at all. Delmise are actually just the seaweed according to its dex entry, and gain its ghost typing from the lingering emotions of the dead who died in shipwrecks that it attaches to. The ghost type itself appears to be based more on aesthetic than any scientific basis, which if anything proves that type is based on elemental energies and not anything else. The only recognizable pattern is that most ghost types, regardless of being resurrected, reanimated, or fully living creatures, is the evolutionary adaptation of being able to
Yeah, I
feed
don't
on or
understand how that
manipulate
Pokemon
life
is
force
ghost.
or souls. That ability is
But it doesn't
consistently
matter 'cause it's
mentioned
cool
in
as
seemingly
shit!
every ghost type Pokedex entry at some point, which is probably just a property of having elemental ghost energy, but it could have been an evolved trait. This aesthetic rule actually applies to most types, as they're
What
more
the
aesthetics
fuck
than
is that? What the fuck is
evolved
that,
trait.
bro?
This aesthetic rule actually applies to
What the fuck is that? Is that what they're passing off as new Pokemon design these days? What the fuck is that? It's over-designed and ugly. He's cute. Shut up, baby carrot. No, it's not.
most types, as they're more aesthetics than functional ways to categorize Pokemon. For example, not all bug types are insects or even arthropods, and not all dragon
I love
types are
Shuckle.
Dracaris. Pokemon like Shelmet are bug types, despite being mollusks, while a Pokemon like Flygon isn't a bug type, but is conclusively an insect. Then there's Pokemon like Dragalge, which is a dragon type despite being a fish, and Alolan Executor, which is a tree. Yeah,
It's a
I'm
palm
not sure
tree.
on that one either. Now
Caspian
that types
BT,
are all
hi,
cleared
welcome.
up, let's take a look at the star of the show, the chart. Starting from the origin of life, Mew, there was a couple possibilities on how we could have actually made this chart. We could spend decades begging Nintendo to send us genetic samples of all of the Pokemon, or we could base it
Imagine
on
if
reality.
they had them.
I went with the second option. Mew is capable of transforming into any Pokemon, but at the beginning of life, it wouldn't have had any Pokemon to model itself after. Logic would dictate that it would transform into simple organisms and gain complexity over time as it learned to better transform, which is why every single Pokemon is a eukaryote. Mew just lacked creativity.
A lot
As
of
more and
thought
more
was
Mew
put into
bred while
this.
transformed, they created life forms they had transformed into as species separate from their own. Just like how their failed clones, Ditto, can give birth to other species of Pokemon while they transform into them and mate. The kingdoms of life that Mew transformed into over time were Protists, Anomalia, Fungi, Plantae, and a kingdom
I'm
I
back in
named
school!
Divisa Vitae, Latin for divided life. I believe that as Mew transformed into plants and animals, some Mew decided to transform into both, creating a kingdom of creatures with both plant and animal cells, which doesn't actually exist in the real world. Starting
So
with the
true.
smallest kingdom, Protists, we only have 3 examples of them,
What
all
the
of which
fuck
are
is that
amoebas.
thing?
There's obvious amoebas like Solosis, which resemble single-celled organisms but are likely amoeba
This is the
collectives,
obvious
but then
example.
There's less obvious amoebas like Meltan. Meltan group up into groups of over 1,000
When did this come in? What generation is this?
to metamorphosize, which is very similarly to how
Melmetal?
Dictyostellum do in nature when they also
Nobody
group
talks
up to
about
form
this
Melmetal.
thing.
Shuckle is the most
7?
interesting protist because despite its appearance
No one
resembling
fucking
some
talks
kind
about
of
it.
turtle or worm, it's actually an endolith, and specifically a
Pokemon
slime
Go,
mold growing
what?
throughout the rock. You can see this in its visual appearance and its literal Pokedex entry, which I didn't notice until after classifying it as a slime mold, which was an embarrassing waste of time on my part. Moving on to the second smallest kingdom, we have fungi. Most of these are straightforward mushrooms.
There's no
but
way
the
you're
coughing
saying
line
alchemy
seems
is a
little bit
fungi.
less obvious. Coughing appear to be floating fungal spore colonies, and while some plants do have spores, coughing can't learn synthesis, which is pretty damning of any plant theories. They hold toxic gases that are lighter than air in their bodies, allowing them to float, which to me is similar to how some fungi spread their spores. They also evolve into wheezing whenever
Oh my
two
god, it's
coughing melt
polluting the
together over
fucking
time,
environment.
which is a very mycelial network of them, so I believe the evolutionary line are fungi. Moving on to Divisa Vitae, each of these Pokemon have direct references in their Pokedex entries to having both plant
I can really pinpoint exactly where I fell out of Pokemon here. I recognize everything that you see except this weird ass version of Tentacruel, and I don't know what this is.
and animal cells as part of their bodies from birth. I decided to model them like a microcosm of the animal kingdom, since that would be easier, and most of them have much more variety in their animal parts than their plant parts. I don't really think there's any surprises on this part of the chart,
That was
but
in the
I
game
really
you played
like
on
Dole over
stream?
here, so let's take a
Fucking
moment
forgot
to
all about
appreciate
it.
him before I move on to the next kingdom. Let's play nice with Dole. I'm just going to go over the highlights of the remaining kingdoms because I don't want this video to be 30 hours long. But if you stay to the end,
could have
I'll give
been.
you a code to download the full poster yourself to look at as much as you want. Over in the protostomes, I've invented a new class of mollusks known as mineralisks. These Pokemon hide their fleshy bodies under shells like most other mollusks, but by using electromagnetism,
Okay, these are kinda cute,
they pull
though.
minerals to their body as their armor coating. Most of these Pokemon are capable of floating from their magnetic abilities, and I think the best example of them is Geodude, as perhaps one of the earliest mineralisks to have evolved. As mineralisks
the
got more complex,
Alolan
I propose they
Geodude,
learn to wield
honestly.
these magnetic abilities in different ways, from pulling rocks to their bodies to make pseudo-limbs like the filter feeder Onyx, to generating heat to magnetize molten materials like Heatran, to even magnetic Pokemon that developed psychic abilities from this telekinesis-like power,
I also hated
like
Bronzong.
Metagross and Magnemite. Moving on over to arthropods, surprise, surprise, it's a ton of bugs. However, there are some fun ones here, like how
Too many
Sudowoodo's
fucking
limb
bugs.
count and camouflage make it most analogous to a real-world stick bug, or how Volcanion is
Sudowoodo
most
pissed
likely
me
a
off so
beetle,
much,
similar to
kid,
the bomb
because I would always choose the fire Pokemon starter, and whenever I would run into Sudowoodo, I would try to use fire, and obviously it wasn't weak to it, and I never figured it out.
Bombardier beetle, which sprays superheated liquid chemicals in real life. I believe Tyranitar is an insect. It has an exoskeleton, head crest, and even pupates halfway through its life cycle. It's literally called Pupitar, so don't argue with me on this one, okay? It's probably closely related to Heracross. Moving on, I'm now going to completely skip fish. Not only did researching them take me
Fuck
way too
them
many
fish.
weeks, since what we know about them is constantly changing, there's honestly just not really many surprises in the fish category, if you could believe it. So I hope you enjoyed looking at it in the background. Wait, I forgot about Echinoderms. Everybody always forgets about Echinoderms. Well, that sucks for them. Anyway, moving on. Did you know that Tangela is based on red seaweed, which isn't actually red? Well, you do
What?
now. Plants are boring. Let's do dinosaurs. Oh wait, before we do dinosaurs, here's the amphibians. There's way more axolotls than I expected, and that's all I have to say.
Because
Over in the
axolotls
dinosaurs,
are
we
peak
have what
design.
you'd expect for the most part. But just before where the birds evolved is where I put Draconis, the dragon-shaped Pokemon. I believe Drudagon was one of the first with
What are
its
they,
tiny, barely
dinosaurs?
functional proto-wings, and Charmander was the first to develop wings that were truly functional, even if they're locked behind an epigenetic marker. Now, could literally all dragons except Drudagon be considered lizards and
Moth,
snakes?
can you silence
Yes,
the schizo?
but this is cooler. My favorite part about the birds is the legendary birds, because their Galarian forms are one of the only canonical cases of mistaken identity. They're not adjacent species, they just coincidentally look like the original legendary birds. In some cases, they're quite distantly related, like with Moltres and Galarian Moltres.
Is that Moltres? Wait, why is there a Galarian Moltres? What? Why is there a new form? What? Huh?
And I just think that's really neat. God, I've been talking so fast. I'm gonna slow down now.
What is
Also, it's
Pokemon
mammal time.
doing?
Yay! Psyduck isn't a duck. It's
Regional forms. How are there regional forms of a fucking legendary?
actually a platypus. When you look closely at their designs, it's actually pretty obvious between the web feet and the claws with the duck bill and the tail, and that makes them the only monotremes. There are so many different mammals in the Pokemon world. They're by far the most common type.
Legendary aren't mythical. A lot of legendaries aren't unique for some reason. Then why are they legendary? We should demote them. We should demote them to a pseudo-legendary.
And it's not even remotely close, so I'm going to let you explore them.
Didn't he just explain that? Perhaps he did just explain that, and yet it continues to violate my sense of fucking understanding of the Pokemon universe. It was my understanding, because it is literally so in the game, that all of these Pokemon are unique, because there is only one of them that exists! You can't catch multiple!
Mammal chart on your own, and if you don't want to do that, then here's some footage of what the rest of the chart looks like. But what I want to end off on is the most powerful and influential Pokemon of all time. Going up to the primates, we see the ones you'd expect, like monkeys and greater apes, but we also see a massive array of humanoid Pokemon. Some create technologies, some...
That's humanoid to you? Wait, these are humanoid to you?
We also see a massive array of humanoid Pokemon. Some create
Shaddy, this is humanoid? Because it has arms?
Technologies, some have psychic powers, and some train in martial arts. But there's only one Pokemon that does
I can
all of
see
the
Macho.
above and more. Me! Humans are what I call the evolutionary Pokemon. We have a symbiotic relationship with Pokemon because we have the unique ability of spurring unnatural growth in them. We have invented items to give Pokemon more powerful evolutions of themselves. We have trained them to be more powerful and more intelligent than they could be alone, and we do it all as a Pokemon ourselves. In the actual lore of Pokemon, it is said that there was once a time
There once were Pokemon that married people. This is furry shit.
Where humans and Pokemon were indistinguishable, and Pokemon-human marriages often occurred. Humans are capable of learning psychic and fighting moves, can communicate with Pokemon when they bond enough, and other Pokemon are capable of learning human speech, so it's not a unique trait of humans.
Meow does never
Humans are
fucking
likely
explain
pure normal
why.
type, as we literally kill each other with martial arts that we designed, making us weak to fighting type moves and immune to ghost, which is true. Have you ever seen a ghost in real life? Didn't fucking think so. But you may ask,
Don't say that! There are people in my chat who will probably say that they had an experience with a ghost right now!
But Pokemon lay eggs! You can't prove we don't lay eggs, so I'm correct! This is my reality, and you are living in it, whether you like it or not! If you disagree with me and...
What if the only difference between, like, what makes something a Pokemon or not a Pokemon in that world is whether it lays eggs or not? But that would mean that all legendaries aren't Pokemon because they don't lay eggs.
Say that humans don't come from eggs.
So that can't be it, so it means that humans could be Pokemon.
Dare you to send me a clip of a human giving live birth in the Pokemon universe. I'll wait! I'll wait. I am a...
Shut the fuck up. You know what? There's probably is some weird porn of like Ash's mom giving birth or something.
Amongst their kingdom, and they shall revere me as a vassal of their lord. In the name of the great Arceus, I dedicate my life. I'm so tired.
Oh.
I've left the link in the description so you can download the poster if you want. Anyone can download it completely for free, although be warned the file size is huge. I think it'd make an amazing poster, and I hope you all like it. And if you have any questions about the chart or why Pokemon ended up where they did and I didn't cover it in the video, please ask me in the comments.
I think I understood 2%. I would say 2% of what was said. A lot of it. You understand Mew, right? I do understand the difference between Mew and Arceus. Is that a dub? Is that a dub? Did I win? Am I winning because I understood that much? Chatty, do you think I should count that as a dub? Do you think that's good enough? Or am I coping really hard right now? On a scale of 1 to 10, what about antimatter? Fuck this! I'm looking up what antimatter means! Antimatter, define. Okay. A form of matter that is identical to ordinary matter, except that it is composed of anti-electrons, anti-protons, and anti-neutrons. I still don't know what those are! That doesn't help me! That doesn't help me. That doesn't help me. Antimatter occurs in natural processes like cosmic ray collisions. Fuck, we're screwed. We're screwed. If your hope was that I would walk away from this understanding antimatter, you're fucked. It's over for you. Honestly, it's shocking that you even tried. Holy shit. Warren T. Jones, welcome. Right at the end of stream, but I say welcome anyway because I'm the best. So for this case, it's like black-haired Lucy and white-haired Lucy fight each other and eliminate one another. But there's so much white-haired Lucy love that the black-haired Lucy gets overrun. That doesn't explain anything! I don't get it! I feel so stupid. I don't get it. I feel so dumb. I'm so dumb. I don't get it. I don't understand. I don't fucking understand anything on the planet. I don't think I ever will. I don't think I'll ever understand anything ever again. I think that was it. I think that video was my last chance at understanding the world, and I fucking blew it. I flopped. I flopped, chatty. Saviculus, thanks for the tier 3 in 22 months. I appreciate it. Gosh darn it. Just wait until you hear about gray matter. Get the fuck out of my stream. Get the fuck out of my stream. If you're gonna try and talk to me about gray matter. Wait, isn't that just the brain? Wait.
Sorry
You tried
bug
to make
about
me look
this, Lucy.
stupid.
Just wanted to know if you still had any
As
plans
if I
for
don't
Epic.
look stupid enough in
No
this fucking
worries if
colonial
not.
white bunny
Thank
suit.
you for a wonderful day, Lucy P. Hart.
Any plans for Epic? Chatty, I'm confused. Wait, is there the musical? Oh! Yes, maybe, potentially, possibly. Let me cook. Let me cook. Please, onegai. I don't know. I might watch it off stream instead, or I might do it like on a Discord
Thanks for the
watch
streams,
along
Lucy.
or something.
I'm
I'm
glad
not
you've taken the
I'm not
week off to
100%
recharge and
on it.
unwind. We miss
Thank
you,
you for
though,
the
and are always
300
happy to
biddies.
have you back. Just glad that you took
Appreciate.
care of yourself.
Thank you. I don't know if I'm back to top form yet, but we're working on it. We're trying. We're
Here's
making
your late
moves.
drink.
I don't know what kind of moves we're
Tropical
making, but we're
drink
making
emoji.
them.
3.
Nemu is playing Expedition 33, so I'm going to raid Nemu. We will go in there, please. Discord, please. There's a Discord! If you type exclamation Discord, you might find it. Oh, sorry. I gotta stretch. Gotta stretch here. Peak 33. Yeah, I want to play it. I just don't want to play it on stream. I think it's one of those games that, like, for me personally, I don't think that it would be the best experience to do on stream. Any game that has, like, strong story elements are hard for me to, like, totally focus on. Which is why the FromSoft games are good, because they barely have a story anyway. You're not supposed to understand the story while you play it. You're supposed to understand a FromSoft story by watching YouTube videos, like, essaying about it later. You're not supposed to actually get it while you're playing it. Which makes them perfect for stream content from me, someone with severe ADHD. Just kill everything lore later. That's what I always say. That's what I always say. But then people say that I'm stupid because I don't understand things, or they're like, they just said that. And then I'm like, I'm sorry. I probably heard it, but it went in through one ear and out the other and slipped right out. Like so much sand. Spilling from my eardrum. Oh shit. The raid's about to time out, chatty. I just want you to know, I love you very much. Thank you for hanging out with me today. I will see you again next week. I don't know entirely what we're doing just yet, but I will figure it out. Hopefully we will be able to do more stream days than this week. But I will see you soon either way, and I love you, and I hope you have a good rest of your weekend. Chatty love! Mwah!